out there, everybody out in the wonderful, wild world of internet space. You're out there surfing. You came across us. I'm Matt.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
A lot.
Fair.
That's Chris. We are, of course, your bearded brothers, back again with yet another sports podcast.
Woo!
Yo! We actually had one the other day that popped off with over 60 views, so, that actually kind of excited me. Anytime we get more than about 20, I get happy.
Oh. Retention probably wasn't great, but that's okay.
Actually, if I remember right, the retention on that one was actually pretty high too, so. Alright. So, lots of things to start off with, but I'm going to start off with a piece of hockey news because, well, frankly, I like it. So, the hockey news? The Minnesota Wild are closing in on an NHL record. Nobody's done what they're doing since the 1969-1970 Boston Bruins. Can you guess what it is?
Nope. Legitimately have no idea. Because I know they're not playing that well, so...
Incorrect. They are 4-0-2.
Really? Okay.
And
people that I talked to said that they weren't looking great, but apparently...
And those people are lying to you because the Minnesota Wild have not trailed in a game this season.
What the fuck are people... Okay, I guess I just know pessimistic people around me, apparently.
Apparently you do. They have lost twice. Once was in overtime, so they technically didn't trail. And the other time was on the shootout. So again, technically never trailed. Nobody's done this since the 1969-70 Boston Bruins. And if we win 2 more games in similar fashion, or lose 2 more in similar fashion in overtime, without trailing, we will eclipse their record. Technically, Minnesota is one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now. And in fact, last night, we just beat the absolute... Was it last night? It was last night. We beat the absolute stuffing out of the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. 5-1 final score.
Well, I mean, I've seen us have seasons where we've started really good and then, just fell apart halfway through.
Yes, I agree. So. But right now, we're actually playing incredibly well.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see it. So.
Okay.
All right, moving to football news. We're going to start with small news and work our way on up. How does that sound to you?
We can do that if you want.
I guess the smallest news is we have a new minority owner in football.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true.
Thomas Edward Patrick Brady is now a minority owner for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I mean, we all kind of expected that was coming. Like we've heard, we've heard
about it for a while.
Like the last year almost. Like
yeah, and now it's official because
the
other owners approved of the sale.
Yeah,
and him buying in.
This just basically also confirms that he's never coming back to playing ever now because
exactly
he can't be a minority owner and play. Yeah.
He would have to divest himself of ownership in order to come back to play. So
yeah, exactly.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But yeah, that's.
So I will say that would be kind of fun if that eventually he takes over as full owner. That could be interesting. Just saying. Like if that ever happens, if something happens to,
Mark Andrews, is it Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it Mark?
I think it's Mark.
It might be Mark. Yeah.
Anyway,
if something happens to
not
him,
Andrews.
No,
Davis.
Davis, yeah. Mark Davis. That's why I was like, the name doesn't sound right there. Yeah, Mark Davis. That sounds right. Yeah. Yeah, something like happens to him, for example. Kind of interesting to see if like Tom Brady, when he's in 20 years from now or something,
Yep.
If he ends up becoming full owner or not, that could be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It's very interesting, if nothing else. Leads me to some speculations that we'll get to later. Next little bit of news. There we have a trade to announce that happened earlier today.
Oh yeah.
It took you.
I don't know how I already forgot about that. I don't know. It just feels like everything blurs together nowadays.
Yeah, Kansas City Chiefs have acquired wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins for a conditional 5th that can become a 4th if certain conditions are met. Oh, there's also another trade. The Titans and the Seahawks traded a pair of linebackers.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, the Titans didn't get the memo that we don't trade wide receivers to the Chiefs.
Apparently not. And I think my favorite response was you asked me, what are the Titans doing? And I said, they're giving up.
I mean, it's kind of what it comes across as.
Yeah, that's what it absolutely comes across as. Also, the Eagles released Devin White, and the Texans have signed him. Dog, he can't play offensive line for you.
Ain't true.
Yeah, sorry, he's a linebacker.
I mean, they could try.
They could. I don't think it'll go anywhere. All right. Outside of that, we have... I think we should do an injury report because, holy God.
There was a lot of injuries.
There's a lot of injuries. All right, starting at the top. Deshaun Watson's season is over.
And I think his career might be over, to be honest.
Huh? Time in Cleveland may be over as well. His time in the NFL may also be over, but...
I was going to say, it might actually be completely over. Because from my understanding, it's a torn Achilles, right?
It is a ruptured Achilles, yes.
Yeah. Which, at his age now, we've already seen even the best of the best kind of have issues coming back from, so... And it didn't seem like he wanted to play already anyways.
On his athleticism and mobility, so...
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like he really wants to play that badly anymore either.
Exactly.
So I don't know. This could give him the excuse to finally just be like, I'm done.
I'm done. I'm retiring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the Browns have officially announced that with DTR also having been hurt, that Jameis Winston, which is why they signed Zappy, by the way, it's because DTR.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
DTR
hurt. To get hurt. Yeah.
So Jameis Winston will be the starter. I wish
Thank
him
God.
all the
Maybe
luck.
something. Because he seems like
happen, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say he seems like over the last year or two that he's been away from really the limelight has done him a lot of good actually. Because the last couple of interviews I've seen him, a genuinely chill dude.
Yeah, now he seems like you know what? I'm gonna just whatever I do, I do. And some people just need that.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Next big one, Brandon Ayuk torn ACL and MCL.
Yep.
Done for the season.
Done for the season.
Will not be back. Done for the season.
Big oofs.
That's a big oof. Also considering that Deebo Samuel was in the hospital with pneumonia.
Yep. Oh, didn't Ayuk also get like his big payday that long ago?
Yep. Ayuk was the one that got his big payday.
You know the one thing that they were worried about paying him all that money for in the first place? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I get that everyone was like, you should have gotten the deal done, and I agree to a certain degree, but like, he has an issue with getting hurt. Normally not this bad, obviously, but it was bound to eventually happen, it felt like.
Yeah, 100% it was, and now it has.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then... the others that I know of that I can remember. Chris Godwin, out for the season.
Yep.
He dislocated his ankle. He needs surgery.
Yeah, when I first saw that's what happened, I was just like, God dang.
Mike Evans, out until at least week 12, because they have a week 11 bye.
It was hamstring, right?
Hamstring. He tried to play through the hamstring that he injured the other night. He re-aggravated it a little bit on his first touchdown catch, and then that one at the
very end of the game. Yeah,
it wasn't the end of the game. That was like the end of the first half, I think.
That was towards the end of the game.
No, Godwin was the one to the end of the game.
Oh, gotcha.
Evans was like the end of the first half. Baker went deep, tried to catch him in the end zone, and he got drugged down by the back of his legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
No, I know the play. I thought that was later for some reason,
No.
but
Yeah, so
I thought those were the other way around. I can't
sadly, he's out for a little while.
Yeah, you can see it. It looked like at first I was like, man, he looks like he just like. It almost looked like from the pain because I've experienced not necessarily that pain, but like it almost looked like when you get a really bad cramp in your leg.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it looked like at first he was doing, and because it's like I've had bad cramps, obviously.
And
that
then
was
he wasn't
definitely
getting
worse.
up, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it's even worse, right? Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, oh man, it looks like he just cramped up really bad. And then he kept going, and I'm like, oh, never mind. That's much worse than a bad cramp. That's really bad.
Rashid Shaheed is out for the season as he had to have knee surgery.
Yep.
That happened literally right before, like right after we recorded last week. I found that out. I was like, well, shit.
Yep.
And then they lost. The Saints have also lost a D-back. I think Olave is still out because he was hurt. So. Half their team is hurt now. It's the injury bug has bitten them bad. Jameson Williams is suspended for 2 games.
Oh, yep. I don't even know for what for. I forget.
They said it was for violation of the performance-enhancing drug policy, but they didn't say he took performance-enhancing drugs. So my guess is they randomly tested him and his urine tested positive for, like, they haven't said, but it's just a guess that he may have had like a masking agent in his system, some banned substance that can be used to mask the use of PEDs.
Oh, gotcha.
He doesn't see. I don't think it's anything serious, which is why it's only 2 games.
No, probably not. It's probably because I've heard that sometimes like these guys will get on some like new supplements basically that has been touted to be like really good, but then
they haven't really fully researched the ingredients.
They haven't been researched yet by the NFLPA or whatever, or by the NFL whatever the committee.
Or also because these.
Because I've heard of that happening.
Some of the supplements they aren't required to put everything that's in the supplement on the label.
Yeah, so sometimes there'll be something in there that they don't know is actually in the supplement.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
110%. Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's not necessarily most of the time it's not their fault, and so even though with the 2-game suspension makes me assume that like it was probably something that he probably could have known about and just somehow it got glanced over by somebody in his camp.
That would be my guess. And so things just happen. We're not going to be too terribly worried about any of that. Stuff happens.
If it continues to come up often, then it becomes
we have a problem. Yes.
Yeah.
Then we have a problem. All right. Any other? Scroll.
I can't. Was there? I know there's other injuries, obviously, but I'm trying to think of other, like the really big ones.
Oh, Daniels. Jaden Daniels.
Oh yeah, Jaden Daniels. Yeah.
Jaden Daniels had to leave the game for work on his rib. Is what they're saying, and he is now uncertain for their next game. He did not return to the game after he left it. Of course, it was against the Panthers, and they were already obliterating the Panthers, so there wasn't much of a point for him to come back.
No. And from everything I've heard, it sounds like he won't be probably playing this week, but he'll probably be back next week.
That's
like
what
they're just taking some extra caution, basically. Yeah.
Saleh has joined the Packers staff.
Oh, has he? Okay.
Yep, that just came through.
It's not a bad pick, actually.
Andy Dalton was in a car wreck.
Oh yeah, that's right. I saw that, and I was like,
my understanding is that nobody had to go to the hospital,
sad.
But he was in a car wreck,
nothing
and now
serious, but
the Panthers are naming Bryce Young the starter just to give him a week off to deal with everything.
Yeah.
Which, okay, yeah.
Because obviously, getting in a car wreck, not fun. I've been in one. They are not great.
I've been in a couple. They are not fun.
Nope, they are not fun. Can confirm.
Tua obviously didn't die. Expected to start this week.
Is it this week? I thought it was next week.
Yeah, this coming week.
This week? Okay.
Yep.
We'll see how that goes. Dude, can you imagine a world where he takes another shot somehow? Like, I think that would have to be the world sending a fucking message at that point. Like,
He's also, so they asked him, are you going to wear the Guardian cap just for extra protection?
He said no.
Nope,
Yeah.
that's a personal choice. I just don't want to.
Yeah, which, to be fair, he does have that choice.
You do have that choice, my dude, but apparently you want to have somebody chew your food for you before you're 40.
Well, I guess we'll see. I'm going to assume the best, that he has gone through plenty of doctors and tests and everything to confirm that, no, you are fine, everything's okay, just don't take too many more shots like that kind of thing. And hey, fair. I'm going to assume the best.
I will say, because it is news and it is funny to me. Spoiler alert. Devontae Adams has lost to the same team twice in a week.
Oh, yeah.
That is pretty good.
That's just got to be pissed. Honestly, I'd be pissed off.
I think I'd be pretty mad about that, too. Also, I was looking at...
like, what the fuck do I do with this?
Some of the Vikings stuff. Hawkinson is still limited in his practice.
Sounds like he might start, though.
Might
everything I've heard.
Be ready to go this week. Dalton Risner, however, is a full participant, and it looks like he will be back this week on the offensive line. Yep. Alrighty. Outside of that, there's a lot of rumors about other potential trade pieces. I don't want to discuss all of them. I think most of them are garbage and bull garbage. I don't think they're going to happen. The names that have been out, the Cooper Kupp got floated as a name. I was like, that's not going to happen. Matthew Stafford got floated as a name. I was like, that's not going to happen.
Probably not anyways.
Probably not. You know what? With as much injuries as the Rams have had, if they're looking to maybe restart,
I was going to say, I could actually understand. I could understand it.
I could understand both of them. Yeah.
But at the same time,
if you get enough pieces for them, absolutely, I understand them.
So from what I've heard, the rumors obviously for that case are like actually that the Rams have talked with a couple of people, and I assume it's mostly just to see what the market even's like. To be honest, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're looking to sell. It's just more being like, okay, if we really do want to go down that road, what could we get?
Yeah, they've probably had some really rough preliminary discussions with teams and people of like, okay, if we wanted to trade you Cooper Kupp, what would you be willing to give up? Kind of things, you know? They've probably had some discussions and potentially about Stafford as well, and just what would teams, put some feelers out.
Yeah, exactly.
I doubt it's going to go any further than that, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I'd be a little surprised.
I'd be pretty surprised by it, too, to be totally honest with you. All right. You ready to do this?
No.
Well, we tied this week, so you should feel better.
I don't feel better.
Week 7. I'll start this time.
Okay.
So we're going to start on Thursday.
Thursday.
The Thursday game was Broncos at Saints.
Man, that was a massacre.
Huh?
I said, man, that was a massacre.
It really was. I picked the Broncos, you picked the Saints.
I do not feel good about it.
I wouldn't feel good about that if I were you either.
To be fair, the previous game gave me enough hope that I thought something could happen there, but I was vastly underestimating
Then we found out Shaheed was out, and then Olave was out, and
yeah, exactly.
Carr is out, and
mistakes were made. It happens.
Mistakes were made. Final score: Denver 33, New Orleans 10.
Tell you what, Denver is slowly getting better though. Like they keep really every week they keep getting better.
I'm very happy for them. I'm sure I've seen Perna. Perna no longer has them on his worst games. He's now giving that honor to the Panthers.
Yep, I just saw
that. So, let's talk some stats. Bo Nix, 16 of 26 for 164 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. 83.1 QBR, 79.6 rating. Bo Nix also
Not
ran
asking him to
10...
do too much, which is good.
Huh?
So not asking him to do too much, which is good.
Well, he did run 10 times for 75 yards, which that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams had 14 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jaleel McLaughlin had 4 for 35. Audric Estime had 5 for 29. And Jarrett Stidham, who came into the game for a little bit, had 2 for -2.
Nice. Go Stidham.
Receiving wise, Troy Franklin was 6 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards. Lucas Kroll, 4 targets, 3 catches, 41 yards. Javonte Williams, 3 targets, 3 catches, 23 yards. Devon Vele, 3 targets, 1 catch, 20 yards. Mims Jr., 3 targets, 2 catches, 18 yards. Lil Jordan Humphrey, 3 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards. Audric Estime had a fumble that he recovered. And both Quan Alexander and Cody Barton recovered fumbles. Defensively, wow, that's the weirdest. That's a weird one. Justin Sternad had 9 total tackles, and 6 of them were solo, and he got 1 sack. Other sacks, Cody Barton, Jaleel McLaughlin, Nick Bonito. Zach Allen had half a sack. Jonah Ellis had half a sack. For a total of 6 sacks. Returns, Marvin Mims Jr. returned 2 for 60. His long of 31. He also got 2 punt returns for 13 yards with a long of 12. Kicking, Lutz, 4 for 4 field goals, long of 52, and 3 for 3 on extra points. The New Orleans part is going to be really short because there's not much to talk about. Rattler, 25 of 35, 172 yards, sacked 6 times for 36 yards. Jake Haener, 3 of 4, 38 yards, 1 touchdown. Running, Keandre Miller, 6 for 36. Rattler, 5 for 34. Williams, 3 for 17. And our bust of the week, Alvin Kamara, 7 for 10.
Oof.
Oof. Big oofs.
Big oofs in the chat.
Receiving, Cedric Wilson, 7 targets, 6 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Mason Tipton, 9 targets, 6 catches, 45 yards. Foster Moreau, 2 for 2 for 38. Bub Means, 5 targets, 3 catches, 37 yards. Juwan Johnson, 6 targets, 3 catches, 18 yards. Alvin Kamara, 7 targets, 6 catches, 14 yards. Yeah. Spencer Rattler fumbled and lost both of them. Willie Gay recovered a fumble. Let me see here. Tackling, Jordan Howden, 8 total. 4 of them were solo. They did not have a sack. They did not have interceptions. Jermaine Jackson did return 4 kickoff returns for 100 yards with a long of 32. Mason Tipton took 121 yards. Jermaine Jackson also took a punt, 13 yards. Blake Groupie went 1 for 1 on field goals, long from 35, and 1 for 1 on extra points, to give them a total of 10 points. New Orleans got slapped, but that's because I think they were essentially starting their second team. They were starting their backups, essentially, this game. Because they didn't... Olave's out, and Rashid Shaheed is gone for the season now, and you didn't have your starting quarterback. So, like, this was a crap show from the word go.
Oh, yeah.
They got stomped. They got beat. It was bad. I have nothing else to say about that except it was bad. Don't rewatch it. It's not worth your time. Unless you're a Broncos fan and you just want to watch your team be good for a while.
I mean, to be fair, it has been a while since they've had that.
That's true. All right, who do you want to talk about? And it depends. Do you want to cry?
You know what? I'll do it. I'll talk about the Lions and the Vikings. It's fine. It's fine. I'm huffing the copium, so it doesn't really matter. So, the Lions do win 31-29. It was a very close game. Very, very close game.
We both picked the Vikings.
And we both did pick the Vikings. And, to be fair, while we did lose, it was to a really good team. And on top of that, while I realize this is just kind of a funny, silly note, but we did technically outscore them in 3 of the 4 quarters. So, I feel like we overall played better football. We just had one quarter that was specifically really fucking bad.
That second quarter.
Yeah, that second quarter was awful.
And I mean, because I watched this, I'm going to say this before you get into stats. I watched us take stupid offensive penalties and back ourselves up out of contention so many times. I'm just like, what are you doing? And then you had that overthrow by
Go ahead.
Darnold, and that got picked off.
Yeah.
And it did no.
Yeah, there were some mistakes here and there, and you know what? It's okay. It's okay to have mistakes as long as we learn from them and we play better. And hopefully we'll find out tomorrow if that's the case. Anyways, let's look at the stats. So we're going to start with Detroit. Jared Goff was 22 of 25, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. This is honestly the one game where we really needed some interceptions, and we just never got enough pressure on them. And not to say that we weren't getting pressure, just didn't really ever get enough to force any picks. Rushing, we did slow down the rushing for a little bit. Unfortunately, one of them played pretty well, while the other one, well, David Montgomery, 9 for 31. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 for 116 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that hurts. So we could stop one running back, but not the other, apparently.
Not the other. Damn it.
Yep. Oh, receiving. Let's see here. Apparently we don't like covering Amon-Ra St. Brown because he got 8 receptions for 112 yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery is 3 for 39. Jahmyr Gibbs was 4 for 44. Khalif Raymond was 3 for 39. And Sam Laporta had 1 for 25. Khalif Raymond had 3 for 39 and a touchdown. He had a touchdown as well.
So I'm very disappointed in Laporta this year.
He hasn't done a lot this year. I don't know if that's because they're not targeting him as much, or if there's other reasons. It just seems like he's not getting a lot of targets this year.
It does. It's upsetting me because I picked him for my fantasy team, and he's done all bupkis.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of tight ends in general aren't playing really well outside of like Bowers.
Been bad this year.
Like the only one that's been playing well is Bowers, and that's literally it.
Yeah. Outside of that, it's been like tight end Catraz.
Yep. Only recently has Mark Andrews started finally getting touchdowns, and Kelsey starting to get more involved with the Chiefs even. So
Kelsey even looked.
Don't know
bad
why it took him so
week.
long. Well, that's true. This last week wasn't even great too, but still, you get my point. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
Dave Montgomery had a fumble that he lost. Jared Goff had 2 fumbles, but neither one of them were lost. Brian Branch did come away with an interception off of Sam Darnold. Let's look at their defense. Jake Campbell, Joshua Paschal, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Trevor Nowaske each had a sack for a total of 4 sacks on the night. Kicking, Jake Bates for Detroit's 1 for 1 for a long of 44 and 4 for 4 on extra points. And Khalif Raymond was their punt returner. He had 2 return punts for a long of 14. Let's go talk about the Vikings now. And you'll notice that there isn't a huge amount of differences, which is actually kind of funny. Sam Darnold, 22 of 27, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, and the 1 pick. Aaron Jones was 14 attempts for 93 yards for a touchdown. Sam Darnold was 4 for 39 as well. Receiving, Aaron Jones was 3 for 23. Jalen Naylor, 4 for 76. Addison, 3 for 66. Jefferson, 7 for 81 and a touchdown. No fumbles on the night. Defense, Andrew Van Ginkel with 2 sacks. Ivan Pace Jr. with a sack. Jonathan Greenard with a sack. For a total of 4 sacks on the night. Like you see what I'm saying? Like stat-wise, like there's a lot of similarities here.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like the rushing was honestly the big difference was that they just did a little better in rushing, and a little better in receiving. Like their offense just played a little bit better, and specifically in that second quarter, and that's really what it was.
I'll say the part that made me mad was some of the ref calls in this game.
Yeah, some of the reffing was not great either.
Well, because the one that I got was when they ran into Darnold, and they said, "Oh no, he got blocked into him," and then you see on the next series, literally, Pace getting blocked in the back and pushed into Goff, and they're gonna call that roughing.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys can't be consistent on anything, can you?
No, they were pretty bad this game. Let's see here. For kicking, Will Record was 3 for 3 on field goals for a long of 57 and 2 extra points. Fun fact, apparently at the very end of the game when we spiked the ball, if we hadn't gotten the penalty, apparently we were going to send out Will Record for a 66-yard field goal. Just for shits and giggles to see what would happen at that point.
You know, he might have made it.
I was going to say, he's got a big enough leg where he could make that legitimately. Now, whether or not he would have, I mean, odds dictate probably not, but it would have been really funny to see it happen. Unfortunately, the penalty happened, and we did not get to see that happen. Cam Akers did return 2 kickoffs for a long of 27, and Brandon Powell did return 2 punts for a long of 10. Yeah, I mean, honestly, stat-wise, very similar. There was just a slight uptick in offensive stats for Trenton, both rushing and passing. And it mostly comes down to that second quarter bump. They had a really, really good second quarter. I'm not mad about it. This is a game that we had an opportunity to win as well. If some of those penalties would have gone maybe a different way, or if things would have been a little differently, I mean, it literally was as close to a 50-50 matchup, I think you could literally call it.
That 4-minute drive at the end of the game when we tried to run 3 times, or we ran twice in a row and then we tried to roll out pass. I was like, what are you doing? It was just bad play calling.
A little bit. There's some of that as well. I think they did that based on the way they were reading the game. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, you try your best to try to set up certain things to work in a certain way, and sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened here.
Probably. Ultimately, I think that, like I said, this is as close to a 50-50 matchup that I've seen in a long time, in football at least. Like, I legitimately believe if you play these teams 10 times exactly in the same fashion, it would probably literally come down to 5 wins, to be honest with you. No, I'm not mad that we lost. I'm not huffing copium. This just actually, in my mind, cements the fact that we are that good of a football team. Everyone's talking Detroit going to the Super Bowl, or at least potentially making Super Bowl this year, and we're going toe-to-toe with them. I mean, that just tells me that we were right in the first place, that we are very obviously contenders.
We are way better than I thought we were.
Yeah.
All right. You done?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the Mea Culpa game.
The which one?
The game I forgot to put into the stuff.
The one you fucky dubbied?
Yeah, but you and I have both talked about it, and we both would have picked the losing team, so we're going to both take the L on this one. And this is the Texans at the Packers. I somehow did not put this into the rota of games. I have double-checked the rota for this week, and we are good. However, we both would have picked the Texans. We both would have lost. Texans lose to the Packers 22-24 on a last-second field goal.
Oh my God, they have a kicker?
Oh my God, they have a kicker.
Watch out, world, the Packers have a kicker.
But let's talk about it because the Texans don't have an offensive line.
No.
C.J. Stroud, 10 of 21 for 86 yards.
Not his best game.
No touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked 4 times for 31 yards. On the flip side of that, Joe Mixon, 25 carries, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That's a little bit better.
C.J. Stroud, 5 carries, 19 yards. Ogunbowale, 1 carry, 6 yards. And Dameon Pierce, 2 for 2. Receiving, Dalton Schultz. 1 catch, 28 yards. Stephon Diggs, 5 for 23. Stover, 1 for 15. Hutchinson, 1 for 11. Joe Mixon, 2 for 9. Ogunbowale, 1 target, no catches. And Tank Dell, 4 targets, no catches.
Dude was invisible.
Absolutely on this one. MJ Stewart did recover a fumble. Neville Hewitt, 9 total tackles, 6 of them were solo. Sacks came from Tim Settle Jr., Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. There's their 3. Houston did have 2 interceptions, 1 from Neville Hewitt and 1 from Kalen Bullock. In kick returns, Damon Pierce took 142 yards. Punt returns, Tank Dell grabbed 2 for 24 with a long of 13. Desmond King II did 2 for 2 with a long of 2. Fairbairn, 3 field goals, long of 52. 3 for 3, I should say. 1 for 1 on extra points. Other side of things. I'm not sure how to feel about this, but okay. Jordan Love, 24 of 33, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and the 3 sacks for 25 yards.
They literally have another Brett Favre.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. He's going to get you touchdowns, but he's also going to throw interceptions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I literally feel like there's an angel and a devil on Jordan Love's shoulder, and the angel goes,
"Throw that pick.
Hey,
throw it.
Hey, calm
you can
down,
do it.
buddy.
You can fit that in there. You can fit that in there.
Over there. Just give it a minute.
No.
He'll be
you can
wide
fit him
open.
in that tight window. Take the tight window. You can do it.
Yeah, that's the devil right there. Tight window. You can make that. Just throw it, bitch.
Prove how good you are to these fuckers.
Rushing though, Josh Jacobs, 12 carries, 76 yards. Emmanuel Wilson, 5 for 11. Jaden Reed, 1 for nothing. Bo Melton, 1 for -1. And Christian Watson, 1 for -4. Receiving, Romeo Dobbs, 8 for 94. No touchdowns. Dontavian Wicks, 3 for 40. Sorry.
No, you're good.
3 for 48 and a touchdown. Tucker Kraft, 3 for 33 and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 5 for 16 and a touchdown. Jaden Reed, 2 for 10. Christian Watson, 1 for 9. Bo Melton, 1 for 8. And Ben Sims, 1 for 2. Corey Ballantyne fumbled and lost. Defensively, Evan Williams, 9 total tackles, 6 of them solo. Eric Wilson, 2 sacks. Xavier McKinney with a sack. Rashawn Gary with a sack. Yep, and there's their 4. They did not have any interceptions. Keyshawn Nixon, 2 returns for a total of 58 yards with a long of 32. Nixon, Jaden Reed, and Corey Ballantyne all had punt returns. They were all negligible. Brandon McManus, 1 for 1 on field goals, long of 45, 3 for 3 on extra points. That 1 for 1 is the field goal that won the game. I am very unhappy that Green Bay won, but at the same time, like they played well enough to win. And yes, Jordan Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love is much closer to Brett Favre. And you're going to get some great games out of him. But then you're going to see something, you're going to go, what is he thinking out there?
Why the fuck did he throw that?
That is the good news about Jordan Love, is that you're going to be infuriated, but also you're probably going to love him the way you did Favre. So, let's be real.
He'll at least be entertaining to watch.
He'll be entertaining to watch. All right, your turn.
Let's see here. Which game do I want to take? Let's talk about the Commanders at the Panthers. That was a shit show from beginning to end, from mostly the Panthers. But let's talk about it a little bit. Let's look at stats and see what happened. How's that sound?
We both picked the Commanders, by the way.
Jeez, shocking.
Shocking.
Andy Dalton, 11 for 16, 93 yards, 2 interceptions. Bryce Young, 2 for 2 for -4 yards. Hell yeah. Rushing, Andy Dalton, 2 for 3 yards. Well, at least he tried. Chuba Hubbard, 17 for 52 and a touchdown. The only one they got. Miles Sanders, 3 for 34. Receiving, Deontay Johnson, 1 for 17. Jatavian Sanders, 6 for 61. That's pretty much all there is to talk about. Fumbles, Raheem Blackshear had 1, but did not lose it. No interceptions. Charles Harris had a sack. He's the only one that had a sack. Kicking, no field goals, but they got the extra point. Kickoff return. Raheem Blackshear had 5, and Xavier Leggett had 1. Blackshear was 30, while Leggett was 19. Yeah, that wasn't much to talk about there. Let's go look over at the Commander stats. They might be more interesting to talk about. Jaden Daniels, 2 for 2, 6 yards. Then obviously we know that he goes down, doesn't play. Marcus Mariota comes in, 18 for 23, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And it's funny because this is one of those things where I think a lot of us thought that this was weird to have Mariota backing him up. But it actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it, as far as like a lot of what Jaden Daniels does offensively as a quarterback, Marcus Mariota also does, just not as good as Jaden Daniels. So the offense literally doesn't have to change how it plays.
Exactly.
Because he plays almost the same way, just not as efficiently. So it's like, this is one of those few times where it actually is, they made a good decision in the fact of if something happens to Jaden Daniels, we can put in Mariota. And if I remember correctly, the whole idea is when they got Mariota was that they knew they were going to get Jaden Daniels. And if Jaden Daniels wasn't ready, they would have started Mariota. That way that when Jaden Daniels was ready, then then the offense again would have just immediately swapped over. They would have looked like there would have been no difference.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, instead, they just got a veteran backup who plays the same way. So the offense doesn't have to change. This is one of those things where I think more teams need to start thinking about, is because we've now seen the Dolphins do the exact opposite, where they don't have a backup that plays anything like Tua, and then all of a sudden the offense is so anemic because they can't do the things that they normally would be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we see the Washington does it correctly. We see Dolphins do it incorrectly. I think more teams need to start looking at, okay, what does our current starter do? We need to bring on a backup that can do similar things that the starter can do in case the starter goes down. That way the offense can still run pretty much the same way. All right. Off of that tangent now. Rushing, Austin Eckler was 4 for 17. Brian Robinson was 12 for 71 in a touchdown. Jaden Daniels was 3 for 50. Jeremy McNichols, 7 for 42. Marcus Mariota, 11 for 34. Receiving, we have Diami Brown, 1 for 23. Ben Sano finally getting in the game, being involved. 2 for 6 and a touchdown. Olamide Zacchezius, 4 for 25. And Scary Terry, 6 for 98. Zach Ertz, 4 for 40 and a touchdown. Tyler Biadazes had 1 fumble for
Biotish.
Washington, but did not. Is it Biotish? Really?
It's Biotish.
That's not how that looks like. Jesus Christ.
I know.
He had a fumble, but he did not lose it. Dante Fowler Jr. and Emmanuel Forbes each had an interception off of
Dalton.
Andy Dalton. There we go. Words. I was
Words
trying to figure
there
out.
are-
I was like, Bryce
thing.
Young didn't get a pick. Defense. Dante Fowler Jr. had a sack. Frankie Louvu had a sack. And that was it, actually. Kicking, Austin Siebert was 4 for 4 on field goals for a long of 49 and 4 for 4 on extra points. Wow. Perfect kicking. Very well done, actually. Kickoff returns, Austin Eckler had 1 for 34. And Olamide Zacchezius had 1 punt return for 15. So, yeah, overall, this was just Washington dominating even with their backup quarterback. Like, this was them not only running over the grave of the Panthers, but then spitting on it while they did it, too.
Pretty much.
That was just so unnecessarily violent.
Now
like
this
was
about...
like basically the Commanders being pissed off that they lost their last week game.
So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk about how to lose but look okay while doing it.
Hell yeah.
So yes, this is the next one we're going to talk about. I want to talk about Pats at Jaguars in London. There are worse things I could talk about.
It wasn't pretty.
So you pick the Pats, I pick the Jags. I do come away with the win on this one as the Pats lose 32-16.
To be fair, my argument was sound. It just was the Jaguars finally decided that they needed to save their head coach's job. So
I told you that was what was going to happen.
I know, but I was saying that there was a chance that might not happen. But you were more correct than I was today.
Well, let's talk about it because here's what actually happened. Drake May, first off, looked damn good.
Yes, he did.
I watched part of this game. He went 26 of 37 for 276 yards and 2 touchdowns and was only sacked twice for 19 yards, did not throw any interceptions. What failed them? Drake May, 3 carries, 18 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, 7 carries, 18 yards. Antonio Gibson, 3 carries, 4 yards. Jermichael Hasty, 2 carries, -2 yards. They couldn't run the football to save their own ass.
I was going to say, geez, I wonder, is it rushing? Was rushing their problem?
Was rushing their problem? Yes, rushing was their problem. However, Hunter Henry in receptions, 8 receptions, 92 yards. Jermichael Hasty, 5 receptions, 49 yards, and a touchdown. Kayshon Boutte, 1 for 33. Booty. Austin Hooper, 4 for 32.
Sorry.
KJ Osborne, 2 for 26 and a touchdown. Go KJ.
Nice.
Kendrick Bourne, 1 for 14. Demario Douglas, 2 for 14. Antonio Gibson, 1 for 9. Ramondre Stevenson, 2 for 7. They did not have any fumbles.
That pisses me off. He did nothing.
Stevenson? Yeah. I'm sorry.
He's on my fantasy team. He did fucking nothing.
I literally won my fantasy game because of the Monday Night Football game.
Oh, I still won mine, barely, but it was still a sub-100 week.
I was down.
Which just tells you how bad the game was that I played.
Before Lamar played, I was down I want to say it was like 114 to 85 or something, 84. And then Lamar popped off, and I won.
Yeah. I think I won like 98 to like 89. It was ridiculously bad.
I won 120 something to 117, I think.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
Something like that. It was not good. Defensively, Kyle Duggar had 11 total sacks. 9 of them were solo. Nobody had any sacks. There were no interceptions. Antonio Gibson had a kick return for 29 yards. Marcus Jones did attempt a punt return, but he got 8 yards out of it. Joey Sly was 1 for 1 on field goals with a long of 41 and 1 for 1 on extra points. Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, 15 of 20. That's not bad. Only missed 5 passes. That's not bad. 193 yards and 1 touchdown. Did not get sacked. How did they win? Tank Bigsby, 26 carries, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Tank.
Yeah, he played like a tank. That's exactly what happened. Tank came in and obliterated the defense. Dearness Johnson, 9 for 38. Trevor Lawrence, 2 for 13. Brian Thomas Jr., 2 for 2. How else did they win? Brian Thomas Jr., 5 catches, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. He's
not just a fast guy. He can catch a ball.
He's actually, out of all the rookie receivers, he actually leads all of them.
Yep.
So he is really good. Much better than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram, 5 catches, 35 yards. Dearness Johnson, 3 for 32. Christian Kirk, 1 for 24. Gabe Davis, 1 for 13. Yeah, so they had an entire offense that was give the ball to Tank.
He did this to himself. He literally crawled into my hand while I was holding, just to like.
Dude, he's like a miniature cat sometimes.
He likes small spaces. Like, he likes to hide under the couch and inside, like, the little cushions, in between the cushions and stuff. He loves, like, tight spaces for some reason. I don't know why.
Because he's weird.
He was very weird.
Alright. Defensively, Devin Lloyd, 11 total tackles, 5 solo, and a sack. Trayvon Walker also got a sack. Those were the only 2 sacks. There were no interceptions. Parker Washington. 1 kick return, 27 yards. 1 punt return, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Damn! Cam Little, 1 for 1 on field goals, long of 21, and 3 for 3 on extra points. So that's how the Jaguars won. And they may have just saved their head coach's job.
At least another week.
And they'll at least let him come back to the States. They won't force him to. They won't force him to stay in England.
He won't have to buy his own plane ticket home.
All right, your turn.
What do I pick? Yep, sorry, Bird. I need my hand for the phone. I could talk about some fun games or some sad games. So let's talk about a fun one instead. We're gonna go talk about the Titans and Bills game. Titans at Bills. Bills destroy the Titans 34-10.
We both picked the
not
Bills.
Even close. Yep, not even close. Let's look at the stats though. Obviously, Will Levis didn't play for the Titans, so we knew that the odds that Tennessee were going to win was very low. But let's talk about it. Mason Rudolph started for Tennessee. He went 25 of 40, 215 yards, and 1 touchdown and 1 pick. I do have to ask, what was the game plan? Like, realistically asking your backup quarterback to throw the ball 40 times? Like, that just seems poor error of judgment, in my opinion.
I think their new head coach is core error of judgment.
Yeah. But then, of course, we also can look at rushing and go, ooh, yeah, okay, this is also part of the problem. Julius Chestnut, 3 for 15. Mason Rudolph, 5 for 13. Tony Pollard, 16 for 61. Not exactly great. That is an average of 3.8 yards a carry, which is rough. That is rough. Rough-a-ronies. Receiving, Calvin Ridley, 3 for 42. Chiga Kwangwo, 4 for 50. Josh Weil, 3 for 34. Nick Vanette, 4 for 25. Nick Westbrook, 2 for 10 and a touchdown. And Tyler Boyd, 5 for 43. DeAndre Hopkins had a fumble. Kind of funny. He's not up there no more. Mason Rudolph had 3 fumbles. Only 1 was lost. Oh, DeAndre did not lose his either, by the way. No interceptions. Arden Key had a sack. And that was it. Nick Folk was 1 for 1 on a field goals for a long on 25 and 1 for 1 on extra points. Kickoff returns was done by Shaquan Jackson. He had 2 returns for a long of 34. And he also did their punt returns, and he had 2 receptions for a long of 8. With the boring stats over, let's go look at what Buffalo did, because they just kind of decided they weren't going to lose, and, I mean, fair. It is the Titans. Josh Allen, 21 of 33, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Rushing, James Cook.
Season?
Yeah, I think he has. I think he's thrown 1. Or is it 2? I feel like he's thrown 1 or 2. You'd have to double check that, though.
I'm double checking it right now. No, has not thrown a pick yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
12 touchdowns,
so far, so
no
good.
interceptions.
So far, so good. James Cook, 12 for 32 and a touchdown. Josh Allen only rushed 3 times for only a yard, so he was mostly throwing the ball. In comparison to most of his games where he actually does a bit of rushing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Davis, 5 for 41 and a touchdown. Amari Cooper being put to work already, 4 for 66 and a touchdown. Saving him from the Browns' hell. Dalton Kincaid, 3 for 52. Keon Coleman still showing up, 4 for 125. Khalil Shakir.
That was a good. Now that he's got a partner, a running mate, he looks damn good.
Yep.
And I will say they actually interviewed Coleman after the game, and they said, "Hey, did you have to on that route? You looked like you were about to. You said something to him. Did you have to help him, like what the route was or what the playbook was?" And he goes, "Nah, man, I didn't have to tell him nothing. I was just telling him to go out and catch it. Like he knows what the playbook is. I ain't gotta help him none."
Which is funny because apparently Amari Cooper came out later and said, "I had no idea what the play was at all. I was just running for the touchdown."
Those two guys are going to be hilarious to you. Like, I want to have them do press conferences together.
Khalil Shakir, 7 for 65. And Ty Johnson, 1 for 4 and a touchdown. Fumbles. Dalton Kincaid did fumble the ball once but did not lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Damar Hamlin did come away with another interception.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming on late in his career, actually, because apparently, from everything I was reading, he has not historically been getting a lot of interceptions, and he's already gotten 2 this season.
Well, getting almost dying on the football field might have that effect on you.
Maybe he just decided that he's just gonna play as hard every day as possible because you never know when that game might be your last.
Exactly.
That's very possible, actually. AJ Epinzaya, my God, I'm so sorry because I know I'm butchering that. He had a sack. Daquan Jones had a sack. Dwayne Smoot had half a sack. Greg Royusasa? Rosue? Might be that. Half a sack. For a total of 3 sacks on the night. Kicking, Tyler Bass was 2 for 2 for a long of 30 and 4 for 4 on extra points. Brennan Cordington was 1 kickoff return for a long of 27, and he also did their punting, 5 for a long of 14. Yeah, overall, Buffalo just looks really good with Amari Cooper now. I am now very curious to see them go up against a stronger opponent now that they have a better core in their wide receiving room. Because they were already pretty scary before. Like, some people were calling them a bit of duds though, because like it looked like they were just beating up on lower tier opponents. I think adding in that extra piece to actually have them have a dual threat of wide receivers now gives them a much better chance at showing that they can still compete with the big dogs.
I agree.
Because obviously Josh Allen still has the ability to play really well. He just
God,
needs
the dude's still got a cannon.
somebody to throw somebody to.
Yeah. All right. You done?
Yep.
I'm going to talk about a revenge game.
A revenge game.
Gotta love revenge games. Philadelphia at New York.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
That's
the
fair.
Saquon Barkley revenge game.
Yeah. He ran all over him. Wasn't really ever
Philadelphia
close.
28, New York 3. We both picked Philadelphia. Yeah. All right. The Eagles. Jalen Hurts, 10 of 14, 114 yards, a touchdown, 4 sacks, 36 yards. Kenny Pickett, 0 of 1, 1 sack.
Hell yeah.
Saquon Barkley, 17 carries, 176 yards, and a touchdown. And apparently there was near the end of the game, there was a conversation had between him and the coach on the bench where the coach said, hey, you're like 3 yards away from your career high. We don't want to take you out of the game if you want to get it. And he goes, nah, man, I'm good. Just go ahead and let the young guys have some of it. It's okay.
I'll get it later. It's all good.
Yeah, I don't care. I've made my point. Kenneth Gainwell, 13 for 56. Jalen Hurts, 7 for 22 and 2 touchdowns. Will Shipley, 8 for 15. Receptions, A.J. Brown, 5 catches, 89 yards and a touchdown. Gainwell, 1 for 11. Barkley, 2 for 11. Calcaterra, 1 for 5. Devonta Smith, 1 for -2. I don't know. He only had 2 targets. I think he had to leave the game.
Yeah, I must have, because that's weird.
That's very weird for him.
To be fair, they didn't ask Jalen Hurts to throw a lot either this game.
No, they didn't.
So.
They let Saquon make his statement. In terms of defense, Nakobe Dean, 11 total tackles, 6 of them solo, and 2 of them were sacks. Jalen Carter, 2 sacks. Nolan Smith Jr., a sack. Bryce Huff, a sack. Josh Sweat, a sack. Jalix Hunt, a sack.
A sack.
They sacked those quarterbacks because they did remove Daniel Jones after a bit.
Yeah.
The New York quarterbacks got sacked 8 times.
Oh, yeah.
No kick return, no interceptions, no kick returns. Cooper DeJean, 3 punt returns for 45 yards with a long of 28. Jake Elliott, 4 of 4 on extra points. The Giants. Daniel Jones, 14 of 21, 99 yards, 7 sacks for 56 yards. Drew Lock, 3 of 8, 6 yards, 1 sack, 6 yards. Rushing, Tyrone Tracy Jr., 6 for 23. Daniel Jones, 5 for 20. Singletary, 5 for 18. Drew Lock, 1 for 13. Eric Gray, 1 for 2. Receiving, Malik Neighbors, 4 for 41. Wandale Robinson, 6 for 23. Slayton, 1 for 11. Bellinger, 1 for 11. Tyrone Tracy, 3 for 9. Eric Gray, 1 for 7. Singletary, 1 for 3. Drew Lock did fumble twice. He recovered one of them. Emir Smith-Marset fumbled. And Greg Van Roten had a recovery. Defensively, Tyler Newman led the way with 9 total tackles, 4 of them solo. Brian Burns with a sack. Toman Fox with a sack. Azeez Ojulari with a sack. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 4, 5. Nope. And Dexter Lawrence II had 2 sacks. Of course. No interceptions, no kick returns. Amir Smith-Marset, 5 punt returns for a total of 35 yards with a long of 14. Greg Joseph, 1 for 1 on field goals with a long of 38. Only points they had all game. Yeah, this was just Saquon going, you should have paid me.
Yeah, pretty much. To be fair, I don't think he would have had the success that he's having here that he would with the Giants, just because that
No.
offensive line is so fucking awful.
Their offensive line is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, no, QBs, not only do QBs rely on that, but so do running backs. So.
Yeah. Your turn.
Do I gotta?
Yeah, you gotta figure out what you want to do.
I'll take a look. All right, let's see here. Some of these games, we're starting to get down to the games that I just really don't want to talk about because some of them are just really ugly. All right, let's talk about the Bengals and Browns because this game was not really good for either team, to be honest with you. Bengals did win 21-14.
They did. We both picked the Bengals.
Joe Burrow, 15 of 25, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he did fine. He continues to show that he is fine. Everything else around him is not so fine.
Reminds me of that meme of the dog that's sitting in the room full of fire that goes, "This is fine. Everything is fine."
This is fine. Yep. Rushing, Chase Brown, 15 for 44 yards. Jamar Chase, 1 for 11. Zach Moss, 6 for 7. That was it. That was their rushing game.
However, who was it? One of their guys, Brown. We'll get there.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. Receiving, Chase Brown, 2 receptions for 9 yards. Jamar Chase, 5 for 55 and a touchdown. Hell yeah. T. Higgins, 4 for 82 and a touchdown. And Zach Moss, 3 for 33. Nice. Fumbles. No fumbles from Cincinnati. Interceptions. Geno Stone and Sam Hubbard. Interceptions. Nice. Defensively, let's look at sacks. Sam Hubbard had a sack. Sheldon Rankins had a sack. Trey Hendrickson had 2 sacks. For a total of 4 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
And cooking. Let's see here. Evan McPherson, 0 for 1 on field goals. But he was 3 for 3 on extra points at least. And kickoff returns. Charlie Jones, 1 return for 100 yards and a touchdown.
Jones. Yeah.
And
that opened
Charles
the
Jones,
game, by the way.
Yeah, that was the open. Yep. And he also returned 4 punts for a long of 23. Overall, quite good.
Yeah, quite good for them.
Let's go look at the Browns, shall we? See what they did. Deshaun Watson, 15 of 17 for 128 yards. Tell you what, that is the best he's ever played.
Right up until he blew out his Achilles.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to say something because I saw it happening, and I think we should talk about it real quick.
Okay.
I get that there's a certain amount of schadenfreude with Cleveland fans. And I get that people are really not fans of Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think that it's appropriate to cheer a player who just got injured.
No. Like, yeah, there's I mean, we've had discussions about that kind of stuff before, where it's like we never cheer for injuries of players, like especially like there are moments where it's like, Aiden Hutchinson, right, where we're looking at it like, yeah, he got injured, that really sucks. It does technically benefit the team for like playing against him, but it's still like that's horrible to even really like talk about in that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse if you are actively cheering. Like, I get, again, that you don't necessarily want him to play for you anymore, and that's fine. But to then cheer an injury is kind of shitty. It's as bad as being those guys that stay really late and were waiting until Daniel Jones came out of the locker room to boo him going to his car. Like, it's pretty shitty. Like, I get it. You can show your dissatisfaction of their performance when they're playing, but like, if they get hurt or if they're like leaving work, like there's certain moments where it's no longer okay to be in that kind of mode, right? There's got to be a certain disconnect between remembering that you are a fan watching a game versus, just an average dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're a fan.
That
You're
was kind of
not.
something I wanted to bring
Your
up
investment
because,
has to be able to be separated between faction. It's almost like wrestling. Like, you got to be able to separate the fiction from the reality, right? Like football, even though it is in reality, there is still that storyline that you could argue is a fictional storyline, while it's not necessarily being fabricated. Even though there are some people who say it is, which is fine. You are allowed to have that opinion.
you are wrong, but
You are allowed to have that opinion regardless. But it still comes across as a fictional storyline at times, and I can understand that. But we as fans need to be able to recognize when real shit happens, like an injury. It's time to now be a real human being and
yes.
realize that these are also real human beings.
Yes.
So, all right, moving on. Dorian Thompson Robinson, 11 for 24, 11 out of 24 for 82 yards. And then Jameis Winston, 5 for 11 for 67 yards and a touchdown. Their only touchdown came from Jameis Winston. That's hilarious. I think that's great. Anyways, rushing. Deontay Foreman, 2 for 5. Dorian Thompson Jr., 3 for 44. Nick Chubb, 11 for 22 and a touchdown. That's not great from him, though.
It's not, but welcome back.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Receiving, Cedric Tillman, 8 for 81. David Njoku, 10 for 76 and a touchdown. Elijah Moore, 6 for 41. Jordan Aikens, 4 for 42. Overall, not horrible. Fumbled. Dorian Thompson Jr. had a fumble, but did not lose it.
It's Dorian Thompson Robinson, not Dorian Thompson Jr.
Yeah, shut up. I don't even know why I said that. Not gonna lie. Because I said Robinson earlier to then go to Junior. I don't even know. All right, whatever. Isaiah McGuire had half a sack. Maurice Hurst had half a sack. Shelby Harris had a full sack, with Zadarius Smith also having a sack for a total of 3 sacks on the night. Kicking, Dustin Hopkins missed a field goal and missed the extra point. Maybe you guys need a new kicker. You shouldn't be missing extra points in this league, dog. I hate to tell you. Kickoff returns. Deontay Foreman had 2 for a long of 24, and Jalen Darden had 5 punt returns for a long of 14. Honestly, this game shouldn't have even been this close at all, to be honest with you, which is what I'm mostly concerned with more than anything else. If this should have been the Bengals just smacking the shit out of the Browns. Like, the Browns were such a hurt team that the Bengals actually ended up hurting more, and they still barely won is, for me, more concerning for the Bengals than anything else. I feel bad for the Browns, actually. Like, I legitimately, I feel bad that they're going through all the injuries that they're dealing with. I feel bad that they, for whatever reason, have a shitty owner. I feel bad that they just can't seem to get a good season, and whenever they do get a good season, it immediately gets followed by an absolute tragic, terrible one. Like, every time they have a good season, they have the next year always is like absolute dog turds.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that organization, but obviously, at this point, things have to change from the head down. I mean, there is no better example of that than Washington. Literally, like, within 2 years, that team has completely turned around to being an absolute sensational team.
I will point out something that I texted to you, because we're talking about the Browns and what they need to do and turn around. Kevin Stefanski has voluntarily relinquished his play calling to the offensive coordinator. I don't know that it's going to make a difference.
I don't think it's going to make a difference, to be honest with you.
But I really want to bring it up.
Yeah. I think things have to change from ownership down, but I don't think the owner is going to ever has any plans on changing anytime soon.
No, and I think if he was going to do anything, he should trade out his GM for somebody competent.
Maybe. It's definitely GM issues. I definitely think there is some owner finagling there too as well. I think he needs to step out of.
And I think
he needs to step back and stop get his fingers out of the pie, so to speak.
There are a lot of owners that need to take their fingers out of pies. Hire a GM that's good at running football and then stay out of it.
Exactly. 100%.
All right. I'm going to talk about an odd game that I feel was stranger than I thought it should have been.
I don't know how to take that.
I'm going to talk about Seattle at Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, that was a really bad game from Atlanta.
It was, and it was really weird too, wasn't it?
Weird until you and I, like, the thing is, the minute that I started watching it, I went, oh, this is one of those Kirk games.
Yes,
Like,
it was.
I hate to be that guy, but the minute I started watching it and watched past the first quarter, I immediately recognized it. I was like, oh, this is just a game. This is just one of those weird games where you're going to get Kirk who just can't play football.
Yes. This was the captain. This was the Klutzkirk game.
Yeah, like I swear to God, you get a couple of those every year for some reason. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. It's like everyone's like,
never
he's
know when
turned
you're gonna
back
get
into a
him,
pumpkin, but the next week he's going to have a stellar fucking week. And you're
Yes.
like, what the fuck is this?
So Seattle did win 34-14. We both picked Atlanta. We're both wrong.
Yeah.
Geno Smith, 18 of 28, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns. Look, I also just found out Geno Smith leads the league in passing yardage.
Dude, he's also one of those guys that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right?
He's so anemic looking at times, and yet still can like move down the field really, really well. I don't get it.
He was sacked once for 6 yards. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 1 for 1 for 35.
Fair enough.
Kenneth Walker the third, 14 carries, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Geno Smith, 4 for 15. Zach Charbonnet, 7 for 14. Maybe get him a Charbonnet? Kenny McIntosh, 1 for 5. DK Metcalf, 4 for 99 and a touchdown. And he left the game, I believe?
I think so, yeah.
Noah Fant, 4 for 65. Tyler Lockett, 4 for 45. Kenneth Walker III, 3 for 24 and a touchdown. JSN, 3 for 9. Sad. AJ Barner, 1 for 5. And Jake Bobo did not catch his 1 target. Sad-faced me. I like
God
Jake
dang it, Bobo.
Geno Smith did fumble, but he recovered it, and Derek Hall also had a fumble recovery. Defensively, Kobe Bryant, 11 total tackles, 7 of them were solo. Leonard Williams had a sack. Boye Mafe had a sack. Draymond Jones had a sack. Julian Love had an interception, and Kobe Bryant had an interception.
Kobe.
Kick returns, D. Williams had 1 for 34 yards, and Lavasca Chenault Jr. had 1 for 23. D. Williams had a punt return that went 18 yards. Myers has 2 for 2 on field goals with a long of 59 and 4 for 4 on extra points. Let's talk about Atlanta. Cousins, 24 of 35, 232 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, 32 yards. Michael Penix Jr., 1 for 1, 14 yards.
Woo!
Woo!
He can throw a football.
Bijan Robinson, 21 for 103 and a touchdown. Algiers, 5 for 36. McClellan, 5 for 17. Cousins, 1 for -1. Kyle Pitts, 7 receptions, 65 yards. Hey, look, he's back.
Maybe.
For a week. Drake London, 6
to
for
have
63. Darnell Mooney, 5 for 46. Bijan Robinson, 3 for 40. Casey Washington, 1 for 14. Algier, 1 for 9. And Ray MacLeod, 2 for 9. Which upsets me because I started him because he'd been doing well and suddenly decided he wasn't going to do well anymore. Kirk Cousins did fumble and lose the ball. Defensively, Caden Ellis, 10 total tackles, 3 of them for solo. The 1 sack came from James Smith Williams. There were no interceptions. Kick returns, Ray MacLeod took 1 for 22. Avery Williams took 1 for 21. They did not have punt returns. Younghoe Koo missed a field goal and was 2 for 2 on extra points. So yeah, this was just one of those Captain Klutz games. Every so often,
you'll classic, like great stats, but just decided he wanted to turn over the ball 3 times.
Yeah,
you know, like
that. Sometimes you just get those games where he looks like a klutz. He does so well up until a point, and then kills your drive by making a bad turnover. And that's exactly what happened to Atlanta this time. I got nothing else to say about that except congratulations, you signed into a big contract.
Yeah, true. Now it's your pain. Enjoy. The curse is yours.
Deal with it.
All right. Gosh. I don't know which game to talk about now because I don't think any of them left in at least these afternoon games before we go to Sunday night, before the other Monday games.
None of these games.
None of these are
very
great.
Good.
No. All right, I guess I'll go with the Chiefs at the 49ers.
Okay.
Kansas City does win 28-18.
Maintains their only unbeaten team yet.
Only unbeaten team, but I imagine again, by the way they play, like it feels like inevitably they're going to at some point.
Dog shit game too.
This was a bad game. Yeah.
By the way, you did pick the Chiefs. You did win. I picked the Niners. Guess who leads the league in interception throws?
I believe it is. I don't know. Is it Mahomes right now?
It is Mahomes with 8.
I know that he had. Yeah, I was gonna say I know he's got a lot, but I don't know if someone's tied it. I think someone's tied him, right?
Nope.
I thought somebody recently tied him just from Monday night.
I don't think so.
Okay, I might be getting my information wrong.
6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Yeah, it's not great. Mahomes, 16 of 27, 154 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not his, not one of his better performances. Tell you what. Rushing had their game. Kareem Hunt, 22 of 78 for 2 touchdowns. Mecole Hardman, 2 for 38 and a touchdown. Mahomes himself, 5 for 39 and a touchdown. Receiving, we have Mecole Hardman, 1 for 17. Noah Gray, 4 for 66. Samaje Perine, 1 for 22. Travis Kelce, 4 for 17. And Xavier Worthy, 3 for 19. Yeah, they really needed... I think Hopkins will bring a lot to this team because they really needed somebody that can consistently get open down the field for sure. Because they just don't have that guy right now. No fumbles. Christian Ronald Wallace had an interception. Jaden Hicks had an interception. And Justin Reed had an interception. Oh, that just gets me really worried to go look at the 49ers stats after reading that. Jesus Christ. Let me see here. George Karlaftis had 1 sack. And that was it. So they didn't get to him a lot, unfortunately.
You are correct. They are tied. It is Gardner Minshew.
I thought so. Okay. Kicking. Harrison Butker did not do any field goals, but did have 4 extra points. And kickoff returns. Carson Steele had 1 for 31, and Sky Moore had 1 for 28. And Mecole Hardman had 1 punt return for 55 yards. Let's go look at the 49ers stats, because the Chiefs didn't look great, and I imagine the 49ers is even worse, based on the fact that the Chiefs won the game. Oh, Brock Purdy, my dude. 17 for 31, 212 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks.
And one of them was in the end zone.
That hurts to watch. My God. Let's look at the rushing. Brock Purdy, 8 for 27 and 2 touchdowns. Well, at least he got that, I guess. Jordan Mason, 14 of 58. Pretty much it. Receiving, Brandon Ayuk had 2 for 23, and as we all are aware well, got injured. George Kittle, 6 for 92. Jacob Cowing, 2 for 50. Ricky Pearsall finally started, 3 for 21. Isaiah Gorandro had 1 fumble. Grando? Yeah. How do you say your name? Dio Mondore Lenore? I don't know if that's how you say that name, but if I did, that's hell good. He had a pick. And Kalia Davis had 1 pick as well. Leonard Floyd had 1 sack. Malik Collins had half a sack. Nick Bosa had half a sack for a total of 2 sacks on the night. And Anders Carlson had 2 field goals for a long of 55, but missed an extra point. And Isaac Garandro had 1 kickoff return for 35 yards, and Jacob Cowing had 1 punt return for 11 yards. So yeah, just a really ugly game from both sides, honestly. I mean, we're talking a total of what was that, like 6 turnovers, like in total. Like, my gosh, 6 or 7. Like that is
It was
ridiculous.
bad.
That's an ugly as fuck game.
Yes.
I'm glad I did not watch all of it. I watched like only part of it, and then was like, nah, I'm
I
out.
didn't watch any of it.
Yeah, I watched a part of it, and yeah, pretty much turned off.
All right, I'm going to talk about, since we already brought it up, I may as well talk about it.
Yeah.
Raiders
Yeah,
and Rams. Final score, Rams 20, Raiders 15. You picked the Rams, I picked the Raiders. I was wrong. You won this one. But let's be honest, neither team played very well.
No.
So we're going to talk about it because Aiden O'Connell started the game for the Raiders, then broke his thumb.
Yes.
6 of 10, 52 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. That's not bad for O'Connell, but he broke his thumb.
Not horrible. The broken thumb kind of sucks.
Then Gardner came in, went 15 of 34 for 154 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and got sacked twice for 11 yards. Alexander Madison was asked to run the ball 23 times and did so to the tune of 92 yards. Zamir White, 3 for 13. Trey Tucker, 1 for 11. Turner, 1 for 4. And Gardner Minshew, 1 for 2. Brock Bowers caught 10 passes for 93 yards. Continues to be the only receiver in their entire lineup.
Pretty much.
Trey Tucker,
Also, how even though they like, I feel like at this point every team's got to know that. How is he still getting open and catching passes?
He's Brock Bowers. He's huge.
True.
Trey Tucker, 3 for 36. Alexander Madison, 3 for 31. Harrison Bryant, 2 for 19. Zamir White, 1 for 14. DJ Turner, 2 for 13. So literally no other receivers. Because that's running back. I think Harrison Bryant is a wide receiver.
I think so.
No, he's a tight end.
No, of course.
DJ Turner is a wide receiver. So that's tight end. And Trey Tucker. So it's tight end, wide receiver, running back, tight end, running back, and then the 2 for 13 for DJ Turner. That's another wide receiver. So you had 2 wide receivers catching passes.
Nice.
Gardner Minshew did lose a fumble. Defensively, Isaiah Pola-Mao, 7 total tackles. 6 of them were solo. Max XX Crosby does get the lone sack. They did have an interception. Nate Hobbs did pick off Matthew Stafford. They did not have a kick return. DJ Turner had 1 punt return for 7 yards. Daniel Carlson went 5 for 5 on field goals with a long of 47. In fact, had all of their points. The Rams. Stafford, 14 of 23, 154 yards, and an interception. Sacked once for 10 yards. Kyren Williams. Whole reason they won this game.
Yeah, pretty much.
21 carries, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. Xavier Smith, 2 for 30. Blake Corum, 3 for 11. And Matt Stafford, 2 for -2. Receptions, Tyler Johnson, 4 for 57. Tutu Atwell, 6 for 51. Colby Parkinson, 2 for 32. Demarcus Robinson, 1 for 9. And Hunter Long, 1 for 5. The fumble recovery came from Cameron Curl. Quentin Lake had 9 total tackles. 7 of them were solo. Michael Hucht had a sack. Kobe Durant had a sack. Jake McCullough had 2 interceptions, or Jalen McCullough, pardon, had 2 interceptions, and Kobe Durant had the other interception. Xavier Smith had a punt return for 8 yards, and Joshua Carty 0 for 1 on field goals and 2 for 3 on extra points. This game was a slog to get through. The Raiders cannot get anything done. They cannot finish drives. The only weapon they really have on that team is Bowers. I feel so bad for them. And yet, I feel no remorse.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't necessarily really feel that bad. Yeah.
You did this to yourselves.
I kind of did.
Your turn.
Okie dokie. I guess I'll take on, what's that last one? It was the Colts versus who here? Is it the Dolphins? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolphins at Colts. Colts ended up beating the Dolphins 16-10.
We both picked the Colts.
Boy, did they barely win that game. Let's talk about the stats. Tim Boyle, 8 for 13 and 74 yards for the Dolphins. Tyler Huntley for the Dolphins, 7 for 13, 87 yards and a touchdown. Wow, that is odd how very similar they played. I didn't realize that. That's hilarious. All right, rushing. Devon Achane, 15 for 77 yards. Welcome. Good to see you again. Jalen Wright, 5 for 33. Raheem Mostert, 11 for 50. Tyler Huntley, 5 for 20. Receiving. Alec Ingold, 1 for 25. Jonnu Smith, 7 for 96 and a touchdown. And Jalen Waddle, 1 for 11. That's really all there is to talk about. Oh, Tyreek Hill caught 1 for 8. Hell yeah. He's still alive. He's still playing football.
Not on my fantasy team, he's not.
Alec Ingold had 1 fumble and lost it. Raheem Mostert had 1 fumble and lost it. Honestly, looking at their offensive stats, it looks like they were actually moving the field and probably could have won this game if these fumbles didn't happen, to be honest with you.
Yes, probably.
Which is actually even sadder to think about. No interceptions. Any sacks? Nope, no sacks. Jason Sanders, 1 for 2 on field goals for a long of 33 and 1 extra point. Braxton Berrios had 1 reception on a kickoff for 26 yards. He also did 2 receptions on punt returns for a long of 9. Well, that was kind of boring. Let's go see what Indy did, because, they won the game, so it must be more entertaining at least. Well, Anthony Richardson, 10 for 24 and 129 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. I know you want to give him as much experience as possible, but, he's not playing well.
He's not.
He was... I hate to be that guy, but if you were trying to win football games, maybe put Flacco back in.
He was
legitimately.
Serviceable.
I know. I get it. I get the idea is that, you're trying to give him the reps and force him to learn this way, and it seems like it's not necessarily hurting him, but I don't know if it's necessarily helping either. I don't know. This just feels like you're trying to fit a square box in a round hole right now, and it's not working very well. Rushing. Anthony Richardson, 14 for 56. Tyler Goodson, 14 for 51 and a touchdown. Trey Sermon, 8 for 36. Receiving, Adonai Mitchell, 2 for 30. Alec Pierce, 2 for 15. Michael Pittman, 3 for 63. Trey Sermon, 1 for 13. Anthony Richardson did fumble the ball and lose it, unfortunately. No interceptions. Jalen Charlie's had 1 sack. Latu had 1 sack. Gosh, that name's fun to say. Kicking, Matt Gay was 3 for 3 on field goals for a long of 52 and 1 extra point. Ashton Doolin had 1 kickoff return for 20 yards, and Josh Downs had 2 punt returns for a long of 13. This was just, again, one of those games where, Colts won, but did they really?
Yeah, I get what you mean, man.
All right, your go.
Yeah, my go. All right.
You can talk about that night game that was, frankly, absolutely bonkers insane.
I am going to talk about that game.
Because,
We
man,
are
that
going
was
to
fun to
talk.
watch, but not in the way that I was expecting.
The game was.
I enjoyed watching it. I don't know about you.
The game was serviceably fun, but it was very, very weird.
It was fun from the perspective of watching the Jets continue to fall apart. Put it that way.
That's true. That's true. I cannot say that that is incorrect. All right.
Also, who expected that performance from Russell Wilson? My goodness.
That is very accurate. All right. So, the final score 37-15 Steelers. We both picked the Jets. God, that did not work out for us.
No.
Aaron Rodgers. Let's see here. We'll start with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, 24 of 39, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 1 sack for 7 yards. Now, one of those interceptions wasn't on him. He hit Garrett Wilson right in the shoulder. Garrett Wilson should have had it, bounced off of his chest, shoulder area, and got picked off. Rushing, Breece Hall, 12 for 38 and a touchdown. But that does not tell the story with how good Breece Hall was in this game. Isaiah Davis, 1 for 12. Braylon Allen, 2 for 4. Receiving, Breece Hall, 6 receptions, 103 yards. Yeah, that's where he made his impact. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 61. Alan Lazard, 4 for 58. Devontae Adams, 3 for 30. Not a good start, Devontae. Mike Williams, 1 for 15. Tyler Conklin, 4 for 7. Braylon Allen, 1 for 2. Xavier Gibson did have 2 fumbles, but neither of them were lost. Defensively, Jamie and Sherwood, 9 total tackles. 2 of them were solo. Will McDonald IV had a sack. And that was it. They did not get any interceptions. Isaiah Davis had 3 kick returns for a total of 69 yards, long of 23. Xavier Gibson, 2 for a total of 25, or for a total of 51, with a long of 29. Gibson also had 2 punt returns for a total of 4 yards. Zurline missed the field goal and went 1 for 1 on extra points. Not a very good game for the New York Jets. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, Russell Wilson, 16 of 29, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception, 1 sack, 4 yards. What I will say is he didn't start good. He most of his misses came when he went in the first quarter there. And then he slowly knocked the rust off and established a rhythm.
100%.
Najee Harris, 21 carries, 102 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Warren, 12 carries, 44 yards. Wilson, 3 for 3. Pickens, 5 catches, 111 yards and a touchdown. He looks really good with Russell Wilson.
I'm not gonna lie, the matchup between Pickens and Wilson looked pretty good. Like, they were in tune pretty good.
Yeah,
today.
they knew what they were doing. I like that together. Freiermuth, 2 catches, 51 yards. Calvin Austin the third, 1 for 36. Darnell Washington, 4 for 36. Van Jefferson, 2 for 15 and a touchdown. Jalen Warren, 2 for 15. They did not have any fumbles. Defensively, Peyton Wilson, 10 total tackles, 4 of them were solo. The sack came from Larry Ogunjoboy. I will say TJ Watt had a very nice pass deflection. He wound up in the backfield and Rodgers tried to dump it and get rid of it, and Watt just jumped up and threw his hands in his face. Beanie Bishop Jr., undrafted free agent, 2 interceptions. Got both of them. Calvin Austin III had 2 punt returns for a total of 9 yards. Boswell 3 of 3 on field goals with a long of 46 and 4-4 on extra points. The Jets got stomped. The Steelers took it to them. I'm going to say this Wilson thing might work out better than I think. At least for 1 week, he looked really damn good.
At least, yeah. And it might only work for the Steelers because, to be fair, I will say this, at least from that performance anyways, their offensive line held up pretty well. They gave them enough time to get things working, and even they got the run game working.
It did.
I don't know if that's going to be consistent, but we'll see.
Which of the 2 Monday games are you going to take?
Also, did you see the interview at the end with Mike Tomlin that he had? Did you see it?
I don't think I did.
Asked him.
No.
They asked him about starting, his decision to start Russell Wilson over Justin Fields, despite the fact that Justin Fields had started so well up until this point. And asked him basically, on his opinion on like if he thought it was going to work out and everything and all that. And all he answered, I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'm just going to paraphrase because it was something along these lines. But it was something along the lines of basically, that's why I get paid the big bucks. And then he got up and walked off the stage. That's
why they extended
yeah,
you.
obviously I did it because I knew it would work. I didn't do it just for no fucking reason. So obviously, I assume in practice and everything, things were working out, and he slowly started to see that while Justin Fields is performing well, Russell Wilson is performing even better.
So I think what it is Wilson is the quarterback for right now, and I think they're going to extend Fields, and Fields is like...
Oh yeah, I think Fields is going to be their guy for the future, it looks like. But Russell Wilson right now is playing better right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm
so which
kind of in
Monday
the same
game
boat.
are you taking?
You know what? I'll do the first one. I'll take the Ravens at the Bucks because at least that was a fun game, regardless of the fact of how atrocious the Bucks were for most of it.
Oh God, that means you're gonna leave me with this Chargers game?
I am, boy. You better enjoy it.
This game was trash.
It was. Baltimore beat Tampa 41-31. Don't let that score, make it look like it was actually good because Tampa scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. So for most of it, it was like 38-10 or some shit like that.
Baltimore. We both picked Baltimore to win, and we were both correct.
Yeah, it was mostly very one-sided until the very end, where the Bucks got a bunch of garbage time touchdowns, basically. All right, let's look at the game. So we'll start with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, 17 of 22, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah, if you had Lamar on your fantasy league, you were probably really fucking happy. He probably got you probably close to 40 points, probably, I'm sure.
I will let you know exactly how many points Lamar got me. Give me a minute.
Derrick Henry, 15 of 1 for 169. And Lamar, 9 for 52 on the ground.
34.44 points.
34, yep, that's what I figured, anywhere from between 30 and 40. Yep. Receiving, Derrick Henry, 1 for 13 and a touchdown. Justice Hill, 3 for 44 and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely, 2 for 17. He's not dead! Mark Andrews, 4 for 41 and 2 touchdowns. He's not dead! Nelson Aguilar, 1 for 20. Rashad Bateman, 4 for 121 and a touchdown. Zay Flowers, 1 for 11. Still around. Not playing super well, but still around. Lamar Jackson, 1 fumble, did lose it. Tyler Linderbaum had also 1 fumble, but did not lose it. Interceptions, Marlon Humphrey had 2. And let's look at their defense. Ardarius Washington had a sack. Calvin Noy had a sack. Odafe Owe had a sack for 3 sacks on the night. Justin Tucker was 2 for 2 on field goals for a long of 52 and 5 for 5 on extra points. Thank goodness. Hopefully this is the return of the Justin Tucker we all expect. Kickoff returns, Chris Collier and Justice Hill each had a return. Chris had an average of 35 and Justice had 37. Yeah, this was very much the Ravens just running over the Bucks. But let's look at the Bucks, see how their stats aren't actually horrendous only because of the garbage time. I swear that only happens because the Ravens were just let off the gas pedal and they were just like, yeah, we're tired. We'll let you have some points. It's fine. All right, let's look at the Bucks. Baker Mayfield, 31 of 45, 370 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Classic gunslinger Baker Mayfield. Rushing, 5 for 22 by Baker. Bucky Irving was 9 for 23 and a touchdown. Rashad White was 10 for 40, and Sean Tucker was 5 for 29. Receiving, Bucky Irving was 3 for 54, Cade Otton was 8 for 100, Chris Godwin was 7 for 65. Rashad White was 6 for 71 and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans was 1 for 25 and a touchdown. Sterling Shepard 1 for 15 and Trey Palmer 1 for 16. Cade Otton did fumble the ball but did not lose it. No picks. Antonio Winfield Jr. had a sack. And Yaya Diaby had also a sack for 2 sacks on the night. Chase McLaughlin had 1 out of 2 field goals for a long of 23 and 2 extra points. And Tampa Bay punt returns were done by Trey Palmer, 1 for 7. This was definitely mostly the Ravens just punching down the entire time, and the Bucks at the very end trying to make it look not as miserable as it actually was.
So the Bucks started hot.
Yeah, and then slowed the fuck down.
and then just got run over.
Yeah, they had 10 points in the first quarter, and then Baltimore had 17 in the second, with Tampa 0. Then another 17 in the second and 0 by Tampa. And then finally Tampa got 21 at the last quarter with Baltimore with the 7. It was mostly Baltimore running over Tampa for 2 quarters and Tampa finally responding, but far, far too late.
Yeah. All right, let me talk about the last game. We're going to talk about the Chargers at the Cardinals. We both picked the Chargers to win. We were both wrong. Cardinals win 17-15.
You don't sound like you enjoy this as much as you should be.
This game was trash. I tried to watch some of it, and I was like, this is no.
No, I literally, even after the other game was done, I still didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I feel like Justin Herbert had one of his better games.
Yeah, but so this is my biggest issue that I was worried about with Harbaugh coming over was that he is such a ground and pounder to the point where you have a really good quarterback, though. You should still ask him to throw the ball just a little bit more.
He did, though.
I don't know.
27 of 39.
I know, but I don't know. It just feels like it feels like
he's not
they
asking
didn't
him
do
to
that,
throw
though.
the ball when it matters.
Yeah, like it's a lot of dunk and dive, like a little dippers, and like it's, yeah, I don't know.
Well, 27 of 39, 349 yards.
I don't know. Then it doesn't feel like it when you're watching the game.
No, it doesn't.
So
zero
something tells me something's off with the way
they
play.
He averaged 8.9 yards a throw,
which isn't bad.
No,
that's fine.
No touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked 3 times for 13 yards. J.K. Dobbins carried 14 times for 40 yards. Kamani Vidal, 3 for 10. Herbert, 2 for 8. Hassan Haskins, 2 for 2. And Jalen Reagor, 1 for -1. Receiving, Will Dissly, 8 for 81. Joshua Palmer, 4 for 63. Ladd McConkey, 5 for 46. Simi Feko, 3 for 45. Jalen Reagor, 1 for 41. Stone Smart, 1 for 31. J.K. Dobbins, 3 for 26. Kamani Vidal, 1 for 9. And Eric Tomlinson, 1 for 7. Whew. However, Jalen Reagor fumbled and lost it, and Tier Tart fumbled and lost it. Ladd McConkey fumbled, but did not lose it. I think maybe without some of those turnovers, you might have won.
That's true.
Derwin James Jr. had 8 tackles, for 5 of them were solo. There were no sacks. It is pretty hard to fucking sack Kyler. But Tier Tart did have an interception. Dicker the kicker went 5 for 5 with a long of 59. And when he hit that 59-yarder, it was like he could have hit that from like 69 yards and it would have been good. That was just boom. I watched that happen. So yeah, all of their points came via Dicker the kicker. He was their entire offense. The Cardinals Murray, 14 of 26, 145 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Was not sacked. Connor, 19 for 101 yards. Murray, 6 for 64 and a touchdown. DeMercado, 1 for 14, and Clayton Tune, 3 for 2. I think they rushed Clayton Tune out there on, like, tush-push style stuff because he's taller.
Yep.
Receiving, James Conner, 2 for 51. McBride, 5 for 51. Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 for 21. Michael Wilson, 1 for 15. Dortch, 1 for 5. Higgins, 1 for 1. Tip Reinman, 1 for 1. Fumbles, Connor fumbled but didn't lose it. Jalen Thompson recovered. Michael Wilson recovered. And Trey McBride recovered. Defensively, Kaiser White had 10 total tackles, with 3 of them being solo. Naquan Jones, Ben Still, and Dante Stills all had sacks. There were no interceptions. Dortch had a kick return for 31 yards. DJ Jallis had 1 for 23. Chad Ryland was 1 for 1 on field goals, long of 32, and 2 for 2 on extra points. And that is how we will bring this week, mercifully to a close. Not so good.
Not the best.
Could be worse.
Could be a lot worse.
Hit the showers?
We can do that if you want.
Yeah, let's hit the showers. You can start.
You want to go first?
You want me to go first?
I can go first.
You go first.
Giants offensive line, hit the showers.
First time ever, Patrick Mahomes hit the showers.
That's fair. That's fair. Brock Purdy, hit the showers.
He was on my list. CJ Stroud, hit the showers.
He did have a rough game, that's fair. Who else do I pick here? Nah, that feels too mean. I don't want to do that one. Some of the ones that I want to do, I just feel like they're just too mean, and I don't want to do those ones. So I'm trying to think of another one that I normally would want to do. Who else didn't really play all that well that I want to talk about? You know what? Screw it. Sam Laporta. You have not been playing all that well this season, so I'm going to finally tell you to hit the showers. Get involved.
I'm about to do the same thing. Tyreek Hill. Ever since you lost your quarterback, you've been playing like garbage. Hit the showers.
Yep. See, originally I was thinking about putting Nick Chubb here, but I was like, he's only been back for a game. That doesn't seem fair.
No, that's not fair.
And then I thought about doing Andy Dalton, and I was like, oh, but then he got hit by a car. That also seems not nice.
Alrighty. Time for the Inferno.
Oh, I got stuff for that written down already, so.
I do too.
Do you want to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
Antonio Pierce.
Okay.
Fourth circle. Your seat's warming up. And I'm going to tie this back to something later on in one of my hot potatoes. But your seat's starting to warm up now, buddy.
We did talk about that might start happening if they start losing too much.
Which is what's going on.
Yep. Let's see here. Who do I have as my... Yeah, all right. Daniel Jones, third circle. I don't even know what's going on with you. I know it's not entirely your fault, but, like, what are you? I don't even... Every week, I don't know what Daniel Jones is showing up. And it's the same problem as I don't know which offensive line is showing up for you either. Like, I feel like at this point, like, I don't want to call you a bad quarterback. I'm now at this point convinced that you just need a better team for you. And I feel like you could actually have a lot of success because you clearly can throw the ball. You have wheels, but yet you have a bad offensive line most of the time. You have sometimes good wide receivers and sometimes not. I feel like this is just one of those cases where, like, you're trying to force this thing to work between you guys, but it's obviously not working, and you finally, like, it's almost like in a relationship, right? Like, you're trying to force the relationship to work when it's clearly, like, you're both good people, it's just not working out. And this feels like this situation where, like, it's just not gonna work. You guys need to separate and go find your other halves, because this is, I think this relationship just needs to end, and you guys need to just amicably part ways at this point.
Joe Douglas, GM of the New York Jets. You're in the fifth circle. Your seat's getting pretty toasty, my dude. You've got what should be a great team, and somehow you can't bring it all together. Look, Woody is going to look for people to blame. They've already fired the coach. Guess who's on the chopping block next?
Yep. There's only so many people that can start chopping.
Exactly. There's only so many people.
Zach Taylor, fifth circle. Dude, how do you barely beat the Browns? They're a dying team. Like, there's there is something fundamentally wrong with the way the Bengals are playing football, and it's not Joe Burrow, but there's something else going on, and I don't know if it's play calling on the offense. I don't know if it's entirely the defense, because it is definitely defensive issues, but, like, I don't know. Just something feels wrong. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
The Panthers, as an organization, seventh circle. Look, something needs to be fixed here. The whole organization, I think, needs to be. I personally take a blowtorch to the whole thing. Take a flamethrower to it. Burn the whole thing down. Start over, because you've got nothing. You literally don't have anything that I would want to keep. Deontay Johnson, maybe, but he's not playing very well for you. You've got nothing on defense I care about. You have basically nothing on
Adam Thielen, he's still there. He's just been injured.
Who cares? Look, I don't think you have anything that I would want to keep as a franchise. At this point, like, you should take a year or two off of football, dump all your players, and start over.
It almost feels like, yeah, that's pretty much where they're going at this point, yeah.
So,
yeah. All right. The refs, ninth circle. The shit is getting out of hand, boys. Like, your play calling is all over the fucking map. Like, I realize that you guys get, like, mandates every year on, like, what you guys should be, like, looking out for more often than other things, and anyone that tries to argue that that's not a thing, we already have proof that that is a thing. They've talked about it specifically when it comes to as many penalties as they're calling us on the offensive line, specifically as far as the lineups are concerned, as far as being, like, in a proper formation and everything. Like, those don't normally get called as much, and they're being called a lot recently. Loki, little bastard. And so, like, we already know that they have been calling those more because they've been asked specifically to be more been asked to pay attention to those more often. So, I get it. I get you got to call some of those things, but, like, the inconsistency of the calls is a huge problem. And I don't mean the inconsistency as far as, like, game to game, because that is a problem, but I mean even in the game itself, even in a singular game, the calls are inconsistent. And that's one thing you guys have to absolutely fix. Like, I realize game to game you can't be always consistent because you have different ref teams and different people, different head judges, different, I get it. I get that will never be consistent. But each team should be consistent with the way they call on both teams. And that just hasn't been a thing this year. It's been all over the place. And that shit needs to stop.
I agree. All right. Ready for the hot potatoes?
Yeah, I'll have to come up with mine off the top of my head like normal.
All right, well, I'll start then. Maybe, with his seat heating up, and a new minority owner. Antonio Pierce is about to be gone, and maybe next season, Bill Belichick is the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
That will only happen if they also fire their GM. If they fire their GM, I think it might happen. But if they don't fire their GM, I don't think it'll happen. That's all I'll say on that. That's all I'll say on that. Because that would be hilarious. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick finally reunite, except for Bill now is underneath Tom? That's weird.
It kind of always feels like maybe that's what it was.
Maybe? Question mark? But we're not going to get in that discussion. Okay, I mean that's fair. Like I said, if they fire their GM, I think legitimately could happen. I still think, from everything I'm looking at, a lot of the other jobs look more promising. Cowboys or even the Jets or.
But he's never gonna have the control that he would want in the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Jets maybe if they get rid of their GM. That's a possibility, actually. I don't know.
Does he really trust Woody?
Hard to say. I don't know. There's some options out there, but that's not one of them, I think. We'll see, though. All right. So many weird things happened this week that I'm trying to think of like some good ones just because like some crazy weird shit happened. Maybe. Just maybe. The Jaguars will finally start winning football games now. Maybe they finally figured out what the problem was, and they finally got to go.
That's a possibility. I'll eat it plain. I think there's some potential there. Maybe whatever it was they figured out, they got something right, and maybe it's Tank Bigsby. Feed Tank.
So I was gonna say, like, ever since they've been running the ball more, Trevor's also been looking better.
Yeah.
So
I think what it is Tank Bigsby and the run game are taking pressure off of Trevor, and he's not getting rushed as much.
Exactly.
Which I think
at least that's my hope.
Which I think is important.
Agreed.
Maybe. Just maybe. The Chiefs are more lucky than good. That luck's going to run out, and the Chiefs are not going to make the Super Bowl this year.
So statistically speaking, I think I talked about this last week. Statistically speaking, they are one of the luckiest football teams, at least in the last decade. Which is weird. Like, how do you measure luck in statistics? And that I am not the person to be discussing that. I just know that there is somebody who has done a video on it. I'd go look it up. I forget which one it was. I forget if it was a sports base or if it was somebody else. But there was somebody who did do a legitimate like look at statistically that speaking, as far as everything's concerned, the Chiefs have been very, very lucky. However, I think they've also been very good. I think also the addition of DeAndre Hopkins does change that a bit. Because now they actually have a legitimate another wide receiver, and if any of their other guys come back from injuries, now we could be talking about a scary team. I think there's a very good chance they make playoffs. I've been saying it, though, that I just think the odds of them making a three-peat run to the Super Bowl is just not likely for a lot of reasons. And this team is not one I feel a lot of confidence in saying that they absolutely will do it. I will still stand here and say I have the confidence to say that they'll make playoffs. They're just one of those teams that
I firmly believe they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just don't think they'll do it. I've been saying that even before they looked bad with this game. I just have a feeling that eventually that luck will run out in a game that's in a major important game, like against the Steelers or something, or something like that in the playoffs. Like I legitimately see that happening. Baltimore, the Bills. Like it legitimately could happen. One of them will finally get their number in a big important game in the playoffs. I could see it. I'm not super convinced yet because the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and it's always hard to bet against them, as I've been doing. But I feel like at some point they will start to finally get the heat. I just don't know when it's coming.
Gotcha.
Let me see here. Um, maybe, just maybe, it was the Broncos, not Russell Wilson.
But they're
I know it's kind of weird because they're both kind of actually succeeding
without each other.
without each other.
I don't. I'm going to disagree because I think it was just a bad pairing.
It might have been. Honestly, I'll put it this way. I guess if I were going to
Russell Wilson was good for the Broncos, and I don't think the Broncos were good for Russell Wilson.
I guess if I were gonna narrow it down, I think I would say that it's better to say that it was more Sean Payton in my book. I just feel like
I think it's how
those
Sean
never
Payton
got
likes to run his offense.
Yeah, I just feel like those two never clicked with each other.
It does not fit Russell at all.
Yeah.
And that I'll agree with. And I'm coming on this one. You're going to have to hear me out before you make your decision because I'm coming with some receipts.
Okay. Good luck.
Maybe, just maybe, Jared Goff is the MVP?
I've already heard this story, but go ahead.
Actually, I have numbers. Not numbers.
No, I know, but I'm saying I've already heard some of the numbers and people talking about it, but go ahead.
I'm not even going to, I'm just going to give you placements. He's currently 7th in yards, 1st in yards per attempt, 2nd in completion percentage, 3rd in yards per game, tied for 6th with touchdowns, and 1st in quarterback rating.
Yeah, he's playing well. The problem is that he's just not excelling in a way that looks... I feel like this sounds bad, but it is legitimately the case in some of these things. He's just not excelling in ways that make you go, wow! He's just doing a lot that looks really good, which is fine. But I feel like, unfortunately, as far as you and I are concerned, and as we know, MVPs also need to have that wow pop factor. That's just the way things are. He does not show any of that pop for me. Once in a while, you'll have that. Like against the Cowboys game, yeah, there was some pop. There was some funny things that they did just to show off. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like it's coming down between like Lamar and Josh Allen.
I was gonna say Sam was in there, but only for the first 3 weeks, so we can stop
King
that
Henry.
now. King Henry actually, I think is actually a pretty good lock in actually right now. Listen, I'll say stats wise, he will make it look like he's performing MVP caliber. I think we also have to weigh quality of opponents. They have played some good teams and some lesser than stellar teams. Like, let's be honest, that stat padding against the Cowboys, like that's what that was. That was just a domination stat padding. It is what it is. So I think if you take some of those games out and then look at the stats again, maybe we're not talking the same things anymore. So I would say he's in the race, but I do not say he's a lock for MVP at all.
Okay.
But he's at least within the race.
All right.
All right. Let me think of one here. this might be a little too spicy, actually, but we'll see what happens. Maybe, just maybe, the Texans will actually miss the playoffs.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're going to make a downward slide all of a sudden because their games just barely, Some of the games just don't look great. They're winning some really good games, and then there are some of the games that are just super ugly. Starting to wonder if they're starting to slip a little bit. People are starting to figure out how to play against C.J. Stroud.
Past the Titans. If we're right about Jacksonville.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
If we're right about Jacksonville, there's a chance. I don't think it's a good one, but if Jacksonville suddenly starts rolling off stuff and that offensive line problem gets worse, there's a chance. I'll eat half the potato. I don't fully believe, but I'll say that it does. The chance is there.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at with it too. I'm looking at it being like, Jacksonville, if they start surging, and if the Texans continue to kind of have this weird issue with the offensive line and being able to, and the defense is more figuring out C.J. Stroud, there's a way that the cross happens midway through the season here.
All right. Game balls?
Sure. You want me to go first? Derrick Henry. Game ball. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I said Derrick Henry.
Oh, Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Take Bigsby.
That's fair. What do you want? My goodness. Saquon Barkley, game ball.
Lamar Jackson, game ball.
Yeah, I wanted to do Lamar, but I already did Henry, and I would have felt really weird to do Lamar.
I feel you.
I don't like it. I really don't like it, actually. But Jahmyr Gibbs, game ball.
Marcus Mariota, game ball.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's fair. Wait, isn't that 3?
Yeah, that's 3 for each of us.
That's 3. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
All right, you ready to do the power rankings?
Yes, sir.
I'll start at number 10. I have the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
I think they're playing better football every week. Bo Nix looks better every week. Seems to get more comfortable every week. So, yeah, I'm excited for this team.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I get it. I don't agree though. At number 10, I have the Bears again. They're still continuing to impress me. They're still getting better. They haven't moved up the list, but they've done well enough to retain their 10th spot on my list.
Fair enough. At number 9, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. If possible, they look even better with Russell Wilson.
At number 9, I also have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I agree. Maybe they somehow look better with Russell Wilson.
At number 8, falling off a bit, I have the Houston Texans. You lost to Green Bay. C.J. Stroud looked utterly mortal. You guys got to figure something out.
At number 8, I have the Houston Texans for all of the same reasons. Yeah. Fancy that.
At number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers. You guys are starting to look good, as you'll go as far as Jordan Love, the gunslinger, carries you.
I agree. At number 7, I have the Packers for the same reasons.
Is this going to be a list where we agree on almost everything?
I mean, the last week we did that again, so I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
At number 6, I have the Buffalo Bills. You guys actually look pretty damn good. I'm pretty damn surprised with how good you've looked. I'm pretty happy with it.
I agree. I have the Buffalo Bills at number 6. I have nothing else to add.
At number 5, I have the Washington Commanders. You guys have looked pretty damn good. Shane Daniels has been a revelation. You guys have been fun to watch. Mariota is a good backup. Even if he doesn't play, even if Daniels doesn't play this week against Caleb, Mariota's a more than serviceable backup, and I think you guys are going to have a hell of a game.
I agree. I have at number 5 the Washington Commanders for all of the same reasons again.
This might be where we start disagreeing a little.
This might be where we start disagreeing.
At number 4, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Look, I wanted to kick you up higher. I legitimately couldn't do it with an undefeated team and then the way that the teams above you have been playing. It doesn't compute. This is by no means saying you're bad. This is you guys. That was a good solid loss, and you damn near came close to winning it.
At number 4, I have the Baltimore Ravens. They played really well for the most part against a team that was very anemic. It was a good win. You did let up a little bit in the fourth quarter, but it was a win that I think most people expected you to win. The Bucks are not necessarily a bad team, but as you can see, they're not in my top 10. There's a reason why they're not in my top 10 is because they have some sputtering issues.
At number 3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I still think you're more lucky than good, but you are unbeaten.
At number 3, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Even though they did lose and the Ravens win, I think the loss was actually more impressive than the win for the Ravens because the Ravens were supposed to beat the Bucks. There was a lot of people expected that to happen. Everyone kind of expected that, and they mostly did. And then they kind of let up a little bit, and the Bucks came back. But it wasn't an impressive victory. I think the loss, even though we could have won, and I think arguably should have in several circumstances, but just didn't come away with the big plays at the end of the day. I think that's actually more impressive. And frankly, the Lions, even being as good of a team as they are, I'm not going to weigh that as heavily of a loss because it's basically, like I said, a 50-50 game. And so because of that, they do drop, but they don't drop that significantly.
Okay. At number 2, I have the Ravens. They're playing really good football right now. Their defense is playing pretty good. Derrick Henry and Lamar are just murdering teams. There's no... Yeah. They lost Zay Flowers for a bit, and Bateman stepped right up and, they didn't miss a beat. This team is playing incredibly good football right now, and if there was ever a year that the Chiefs were vulnerable to get taken out, this is it.
Very possible. At number 2, I have the Lions. They are a fantastic football team. They are obviously considered one of the best, if not the best team in the NFC at this point. We are obviously neck and neck in that regard, in my opinion, to be honest with you. But they squeaked out the victory, and that's an important feat that does matter in the rankings overall. Even though I think the Vikings have overall a better team on paper, the Lions overall excelled in a lot of the ways that they needed to. They had a game plan that they came up with, and they played it to perfection, and it worked.
My number 1 is the Lions because they knocked off the top dog. You move up. You played incredibly well. I think you're one of the most complete teams in football currently. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, you guys are playing incredibly good football. Amon-Ra St. Brown is great. Your two-headed running back attack is fantastic. Jared Goff is playing otherworldly football. You're my number 1 team.
And then obviously at number 1, I have the Chiefs. I know that, come on, they're undefeated. I know you've knocked them because of the fact that they've been quote-unquote lucky. As much as I know that is true, unfortunately, in football, luck is a stat, and it just is what it is, and that is part of the game. And being lucky doesn't necessarily degrade how good of a team you are. If you can garner that much luck, and be able to properly utilize it to your advantages, then who am I to complain about it? You guys are obviously finding ways to make it work in your favor, and you know, more power to you. We'll see how long that eventually works out, and obviously, when it doesn't work out, are you able to still find that success without it? We'll see.
All right. Ready for next week?
Yeah.
Then I have a segment after that, and then we'll close up for the night.
Okay.
So we'll start Thursday night. Vikings at Rams.
Vikings. As much as I want to say the Rams have an opportunity, and realistically they kind of do, but the problem is that they're just, again, so hurt.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think the Vikings are going to win this game. Get right back on the ship.
Yep.
Jets at Patriots.
Well, the Patriots did look good. I just don't trust their defense worth a damn, so I'm going to go Jets just because. I don't know. Just because.
You know, this should be a game the Jets should absolutely mollywop the Patriots.
Yeah.
But they've been playing like ass.
Yeah.
I don't have any faith in the Jets right now. I'm going to take the Patriots.
I get it. I just have less faith in the defense of the fucking Patriots.
I totally get it. Eagles at Bengals.
I mean, realistically, they should be a fairly close matchup on paper. Unfortunately, I just don't know which team is going to show up for either team, to be completely honest with you. So I guess I'm going to lean Eagles only because of Saquon Barkley.
I'm right there with you. Packers at Jaguars.
This should be an easy Packers clap, to be honest with you, unless the Jaguars are actually going to start coming online and figuring their shit out. This should be a Packers victory.
I'll pick the Packers along with you, but if the Jaguars win this, I may have to start reconsidering my stance on...
Right, exactly, yeah.
On picking against them, you know?
Yep, it's kind of where I'm at.
Titans at Lions. Do we even need to discuss this?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, go Titans, woo!
Yeah, not gonna happen. Falcons at Bucks.
Wait, they're playing again? Already?
Already.
Jesus. Like, that was, what, only 2 weeks apart?
Yeah.
To be fair, Falcons already won the first game. It was a very close game. You would argue that maybe I would say Bucks here, but because the Falcons had just a really absolute dog shit game, and it was Kirk Cousins having that game, he typically next week has a really good game. So I'm going to lean on that assumption and say the Falcons win.
And I'm going to go a step further and say no Charles Godwin, no Mike Evans.
Yep.
I'm taking the Falcons.
Yep.
Cardinals at Dolphins, and Tua should be back.
See, here's the thing. Obviously, I worry about Tua being rusty, but for some reason, even when he came back from his concussions during that year that he had like 3 of them, he always came back looking still pretty good. So I'm going to assume that he's still been practicing and still been putting in time, even while still being out of the game. I'm going to assume that he's still ready to go, and I'm going to say it's the Dolphins gets their win back with Tua finally back.
I'll say they'll get their mojo back as well. Ravens at Browns. Well, gee, I think we all know how that's going to go.
Yeah, I'm not even going to... As much as I like the Jameis Winston finally getting his chance to at redemption again, I just think the odds of him beating the Ravens first week is just unlikely.
Colts at Texans.
Anthony Richardson just hasn't been wowing me as far as passing is concerned. And I think the Texans really need this game win very badly to show that they're still in it. So I'm going to say Texans because I think that they're just going to be more hungry.
I agree. I think they're going to get up for this game. Saints at Chargers.
Saints had just a horrible game. Do we know if Rattler is still playing? Is Derek Carr still out?
We have no idea.
No idea. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with the Chargers on this. Even though that they haven't been playing super pretty football, they've been winning games, and I think they'll just do the same thing that they just been doing.
I agree with you. I also worry that I think Olave is still out. Shaheed is obviously out for the
Oh yeah,
season. Yeah.
yep.
Bills at Seahawks.
Listen, the Seahawks are no slouches on the defense, and they had a fantastic last week. I just think the Bills are a whole nother bucket of worms,
Especially
and
now with Cooper.
Yeah, I just don't think that they're going to stand a chance against the Bills, to be completely honest with you.
Bears at Commanders.
There's been rumors that Daniels could be back for that, but I don't think he will be. I think it's probably going to be Marcus Mariota again.
I think so.
And that makes them slightly vulnerable. Not that he played bad, but he's just not as good at that role as Jaden is. It just is what it is. So I think the Bears have an opportunity. I think their defense has been playing really well. I think their offense is fantastic. And the Commanders' biggest weakness happens to be their defense, and they've been getting bailed out by their high-powered offense. I'm wondering if finally they're going to show a little bit of weakness just because they won't have Daniels to bail them out of some big plays that might happen for the Bears on defense. So I'm going to lean Bears, but just marginally. It'll be a pretty fun game, I think.
I will take the Commanders, even even without Daniels. I think I worry about that defense, but I think the Commanders' offense is much better than people think it is.
Yeah. So I get it.
Panthers at Broncos. I think we both know how that ends.
Yeah, as much as the Broncos have not been super impressive, the Panthers have been even less impressive.
Chiefs at Raiders. Again, I think despite my dislike,
as much as we don't want the Chiefs to win that game, they're probably going to win that game.
Cowboys at Niners.
Listen, the Niners have been having issues, but the Cowboys have been having bigger issues. So I think the Niners should win that game.
I agree. And finally, Giants at Steelers.
Normally I would have given the Giants a potential win here, but with the Steelers playing as well as they did with Russell Wilson, I mean, granted, one game, we'll see if he has the same performance in the second, but I'm leaning Steelers based on that first game.
I agree with you. We split on a couple. All right, last segment, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Hoff or Hogg? D lineman this time. Spent a majority.
That's gonna be so much harder.
Hold on. This should still be easy enough for you. Spent a majority of their time as a D lineman.
Get out of here.
So, the base. This is your Hall of Famer. Played 17 years. In that time, he played 266 games. He had 11 interceptions, 4 interceptions for touchdowns, 52 forced fumbles, 21 fumble recoveries, 2 fumble recoveries for touchdowns, 159.5 sacks, 719 total tackles, 175 for a loss, and 186 quarterback hits. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, and 1 Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's your base. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the first 2, and then you can make decisions. That way you kind of know what we're looking at. All right?
Mm-hmm.
This first player played 12 years. In that time, he had 187 games played. He had 6 interceptions, 1 interception TD, 32 forced fumbles, 19 fumble recoveries, 1 fumble recovery touchdown, 136 sacks, 648 total tackles, 171 of them for a loss, 228 quarterback hits, and 4 safeties. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time All-Pro, and a 1-time Defensive Player of the Year. The next player also played 12 years. In that time, he played 151 games. He had 2 interceptions, both of them for touchdowns, 27 forced fumbles, 17 fumble recoveries, 1 fumble recovery touchdown, 114 and a half sacks, 586 total tackles, 195 of them for a loss, 317 quarterback hits, and 1 safety. He is a 5-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and a 1-time Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Just thinking about it, I mean, it feels like both of those have enough kind of going for them to earn Hall of Fame numbers based on that.
Maybe not first ballots, but definitely going in eventually.
Yeah, I feel like neither one is like jumping out at me out of like, oh my god, amazing. But both of them have like stats that are really, really quite good, and some of them are more impressive than others. But for the most part, they are fairly even footing in a lot of ways. Obviously, the accolades of one is a little bit superior to the other, but not by like substantial amounts. Like they each have different accolades for different things, and it depends on how you weigh those, really. But yeah, I would argue that both of those, to me, sound like potential Hall of Famers.
All right. Your next player played 10 seasons. In that time, he played 154 games. He had no interceptions, but he had 24 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries, 111 sacks, 543 total tackles, 176 for a loss, 260 quarterback hits, and 1 safety. He is a 10-time Pro Bowler, an 8-time All-Pro, has 1 Super Bowl trophy, is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and a Defensive Rookie of the Year.
It's kind of weird because stat-wise, he actually doesn't sound as impressive as the other two, but he's got way more accolades, so he probably played on a far better team. At least from the sound of it. I could be wrong on that. Does the accolades... Because I was going to say, stats alone, he doesn't make it on, but do the accolades do enough to push him into that zone? Do the accolades of playing on a really good team help you? I mean, they do, but does it help enough? Tough question. Feels like I'm disrespecting. Like, this is the one thing that I hate about this is that I feel like I'm disrespecting players if I say no, regardless of how good they are. I think the accolades are. It's so close, but I feel like from the sound of it, he got maybe, but I feel like he got too much help from the team being really good at the same time. It's hard to say. It's also hard to say if he's the one that actually brought that energy to the team too. So I don't know. That's a really hard one actually. Like it's like right on a knife's edge for me, to be honest with you. I want to say no, but I want to say yes at the same time. I really don't know. Like even if you flipped a coin right now, I still probably wouldn't be able to tell you. Yeah, I don't know. That one might be one of those ones where he'll eventually get in, but it'll take a while, and it'll just be off of like he'll get in and he'll be like 80 years old or some shit.
Your next player played for 13 seasons, 203 games. He had 5 interceptions, 2 interception touchdowns, 10 forced fumbles, 13 fumble recoveries, 2 fumble recovery touchdowns, only 63 sacks, but he had 528 total tackles, 113 of them for a loss, 90 quarterback hits. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler and a 5-time All-Pro.
There are some good numbers there, but I just don't think they're enough. There's too much left to be desired for somebody who played for 12 years there.
Gotcha. This next one played 13 seasons, played in 199 games, had 1 interception, 5 forced fumbles, 9 fumble recoveries, 3 fumble recovery touchdowns, had 71.5 sacks, 600 total tackles, 130 for a loss, 214 hits, 1 safety, was a 5-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, a Defensive Rookie of the Year, and has 1 Super Bowl ring.
That one is also pretty close, to be honest. I feel like he'll eventually get in, but again, we're not talking first ballot.
And your last one has played 17 seasons, and in that time was in 249 games, has 3 interceptions, 17 forced fumbles, 13 fumble recoveries, 3 fumble recovery touchdowns, 107.5 sacks, 877 total tackles, 179 for a loss, 259 quarterback hits, 3 safeties, is a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 1-time All-Pro, a 1-time Defensive Player of the Year, and a 1-time Man of the Year.
I feel like overall that was pretty good. Not the most impressive, but again, we're like right at that edge where he's just slightly better than some of the other guys, but not super great either. So I would say yeah, probably he'll make it in. Might not be her first ballot, but it depends. Depends on the team he played for as well, as we know.
So your Hall of Famer, Julius Peppers.
Okay, that's fair.
The first person that you said yes to, Jared Allen.
Okay, yeah.
The second person, J.J. Watt.
Okay, that makes sense.
The person where you had the most trouble and was knife edging it, Aaron Donald.
Really? I mean,
yes.
I guess I could see that though, because there were several years he played on a pretty bad Rams roster.
But you were wondering if he was the person that brought the energy. So the answer would be yeah.
Yeah.
The person you said no to, half of the Williams wall, Kevin Williams.
Don't know what to tell you. Didn't look great on paper.
I don't blame you. The other person that you were like, it's a coin flip, he'll probably get in eventually, and Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see on that still, but yeah, okay.
And the final player that you said yes to, Calais Campbell, who is still playing today.
Yeah, which that makes sense, actually.
Yeah. So I always think those are fun. I like doing those. I know you're worried about disrespecting players, but they're never going to see any of this.
No, probably not.
But yeah, no, like, I was looking through that, and I was surprised at how close Allen and JJ had in stats.
Yeah.
And I looked at Aaron Donald's, and I went, really? I remember him being, like, the best defensive tackle end in football for, like, 10 years straight.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's more like he had, like, 2 to 3 really good years, and the rest that were pretty good, but on a kind of bad
And then
team.
also you have to remember that he was the only person on that line for a lot of it,
yeah.
And they were double and triple teaming his ass.
Exactly, yeah, especially towards the end.
Yeah. So
yeah, for sure.
I think if he'd played another couple of years and picked up some more sacks, there wouldn't have been any question.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Well, that's where we're going to end for tonight. We thank all of you for hanging with us. I will get this up before the Vikings game tomorrow. We hope that you all had a great week. Whatever y'all put your minds to, we know you can accomplish it, so go ahead and do it. We do want to say out there, if you like what we do, give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, turn on the little bell so you get your notifications from us. In the meantime, we'll see all of you back here next week. Same beard time, same beard channel. We want to say to everybody out there,